Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Have you heard the old saying? If you really want to understand someone, if you really want to know why they do the things they do, why they walk like they walk, why they talk like they walk, like they talk, and why they act like they act, you got to walk in their shoes for a mile before you make a judgment, before you really have understood them. You got to get into their shoes and you got to walk in their shoes. You got to put yourself in the circumstances in which they act, they talk, they walk, and they do the things they do. Even if it's not literally, at least metaphorically. Plenty times I have heard that expression. I have learnt it from my teachers. I have read it in books. But it is only today that I really understand the depth of it. What it actually meant. I got the superficial meaning. If you want to know why a beggar begs, then try being poor first, and then you'll know why he begs. Before you start mocking and laughing at those people. If you want to know why a man lies, then put yourself in that situation. And then you'll figure out why he's doing that. But today, I'm seeing a lot more depth into that expression and those sentiments. Because today I'm able to analyze it through the lens of the Dhamma. And today I'm beginning to realize that although we are so eager and so readily passing judgment on others, really there's no such thing as a bad person out there. There are no bad people out there. They're just people. But not just any old people. People who are destitute. People who are in despair. People who are in tremendous amounts of suffering and agony, anguish and pain and frustration. What you see when you look at them, what you can observe when you look at them, is really the things they say, the things they do, and the thoughts that they have to help them relieve themselves of the pain in which they find themselves. So go to a thief, talk to him, ask him, why do you thieve? Why do you take things that belong to others? And I can guarantee he will come up with a perfect justification. He will have all sorts of answers to give you. He will say, I rob, I take what doesn't belong to me because I have no other choice. I have a family that needs to be fed. I have tried to get myself a job, but with the qualifications that I have, I seem to struggle every time. They just don't accept my qualifications. They keep rejecting me every interview I go to. And even these menial jobs that become available, they're not enough for me to keep up my family, for me able to maintain them. So how, sir, then can you expect me to watch my family go hungry? As a father, how can you expect me to do that? Are you not a father? Would you not do that if such circumstances presented themselves to you? Is a question that they'll probably ask you. Most likely. So what they're doing is they're justifying their actions. So really, if you ask them, they're not bad people. What I did, taking something that didn't belong to me, was perfectly acceptable given the circumstances. In these circumstances, even you would have done the same. They might even challenge us. They might even be as bold as to propose that. You might have done the same in these circumstances. See, today I'm beginning to realize this more and more through the Dhamma, folks, and I want to help you to reflect on this, what I'm trying to explain to you here. Because I sense that there are people out there may be those among you, who still harbor thoughts of ill will, anger, pain, frustration, towards those who might have done wrong to you. There may be those among you who struggle to forgive. You're trying to, but it seems so very difficult. Just look into your lives and see if you have no one in your life where you're struggling to forgive. Just look back into your lives for a moment. In your entire lifetime, have you never come across someone who has done wrong unto you? Who said something they shouldn't have said, who did something they shouldn't have done? We made the judgment, they shouldn't have done that, they shouldn't have said that, that was wrong. Look at how they left me in the lurch. I trusted them and they broke my trust. I tried to help them, but look at what they did to me. They took what was mine. I only lent it to them, but they never returned it. I was very mean, and I struggled to forgive them. Do you not have such memories in your memory banks? People you struggle to forgive? It's easy to say, it's water under the bridge. But saying is one thing, doing is another, isn't it? It's difficult. Sometimes there might be wives among you whose husbands have cheated on you. There may be husbands whose wives have cheated on them. You're either still together or you're not together. Either way, what has happened keeps festering in your mind and you're unable to forgive and move on. I want to help you. There may be parents here. Throughout their lives, everything they did was to give their children a good upbringing, to help give them a good education, to see them become successful in their lives, to reach for the stars. You worked hard, you toiled, you labored all day long. You worked overtime, you saved up for them, you invested in their name. You sent them abroad to the best universities that you could afford, to the countries that could avail them every opportunity to become successful. But for some reason or the other, perhaps they fell into wrong company. They fell into the wrong hands, bad associations. And today, you resent. Today, anger comes into your mind when you're reminded of them. Today, you are struggling to forgive them. Today, you are struggling to move on. Every time perhaps you sit down for meditation, or every time you close your eyes and you just want to be relaxed, you can't help but those ugly thoughts creeping back into your mind and troubling you. I want to help you. Perhaps you have relations who you try to help out, when they were having troubled times, you helped them. You lent them some money, you gave them shelter, you supported them, providing them with ample opportunities to help them get them back on their feet when they were struggling. But now, hey, how easy it has been for them to forget all that, eh? You know what I'm talking about. Have you never had such experiences in your lives? Are you so blessed that you have never had such experiences? Or is it just me? So you tried a few times to get back in touch with them. When you get a chance, please could you maybe return that money? I need it now. It's a tough time for me as well. I'm driving on rims these days. It's okay, there's no rush, but it would be good of you to just return it when you can. Yeah, sure, I will. But that day never came. So you tried a few times, and then you thought, ain't happening. You gave up the money, but what you haven't been able to give up is that ill will that still lingers in your mind. See, you've actually given up the hard bit. You've given up the money. You gave up the sari. You gave up that jacket. You gave up the necklace. You gave up the ring. You gave up the diamond necklace. You gave it all up. The physical stuff you've given up. But something's still lingering behind. I want to help you. Because there's a way out of this. Or it may be that a good friend of yours used to be, not anymore. You trusted that friend with a secret. I'm going to share this with you and no one else but you, because I trust you. I trust you with my life, and therefore I'm going to share this with you. And so you took that leap of faith and you shared it with them. And that when you did, they said, don't you worry. Mum's the word. I'm not going to share this with anybody. Your secret is safe with me. So you trusted them. Days pass by, weeks pass by, perhaps a year or two pass by, and then somehow or the other you get word that the secret has slipped out. And you know for a fact that they are the only person you shared it with. No? Does it sound very alien to you? Plenty. Thankfully, these are not just things that appear in novels. So they're real things that happen to real people like you and I. Good. There have been people in my life, right? People who wanted to borrow some money. You lend it to them, and when they want it, they're so friendly, aren't they? They sweet talk you on the phone like your chocolate cheesecake. They can't sing enough praises about you. They come and beg at your feet. Literally. So you want to help the guy out. Sometimes it might be that you had other plans for the money, but you lent it. Things that have happened to me in my life. So I helped this guy out. He didn't live very far from where I used to, and he used to give me a call every now and then. But lent him the money. I didn't chase him for it, just thought, can trust the guy, he'll return it to me when he's able to. He borrowed it with the promise of returning it to me in 3 weeks. This is an old story. But 3 turned to 6, 6 turned to 9, 9 turned to 12. So that's 4 months gone by. Months started to turn into years, and not a word. It's amazing, isn't it, how until you lend them the money, when you ring them, they pick up on the first ring. And then after you've lent them the money, this number is out of service. Oh, this voicemail box is full. Please try again later. Incredible. So sometimes I used to see this guy on the road, and though it used to be that he used to look at me in the face and give me a wave, now he sees me a mile away, and the guy turns around and he starts walking the other way. Do you not have such experiences in your life? Well, I want to help you. I want to help you to be able to move on. There's a thing they say in psychology, try and forgive and forget. I'm not sure about the second part. Forget, well, like you can just switch off and format your memory, right? And then reinstall Windows. Right? Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that, because you can't delete your memories. I mean, sometimes time does that, but you can't volitionally delete memories. It doesn't happen like that. And besides, those are vipakas. All memories are vipakas. They are the results of previous actions. You can't undo them. But I can help you with the first part of that. Forgive. Giving is a great thing to do, isn't it? Giving. One of the best types of giving is what? What? Forgiving. Why? Because when you forgive, and this is why forgiving is the best type of giving. When you give anything else, usually the receiving party is who feels blessed, who feels that they have gained a lot out of it. But when you forgive, it's the giving party that feels great about it, more than the receiving party. Sometimes the receiving party doesn't even know that they have received forgiveness. But the giving party gains a great deal out of forgiving. So I have learned to forgive in my life through the Dhamma. Not by trying to trick myself, not through affirmations, right? Not by waking up every morning and thinking it to me 1,000 times, I'm going to forgive that guy, I'm going to forgive him, I'm going to forgive him, I'm going to forgive him. It's not like that. No, there's actually a scientific way to forgive. A very methodical, a very logical way to forgive. The science of forgiving. That's what I'm going to share with you today. How about that? This is the science of forgiving. Proven and tested. Passes every single time. I put it through the lab. Comes out positive every single time. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. And after a while, if you've done it enough times, then you find yourself in a position where actually you don't need to forgive because you don't harbor feelings of ill will to begin with. So I'll teach you the science behind forgiving today. I'll share it with you. See how it relates to your life, and hopefully you will be able to find peace. To do that, as I said at the very start of the sermon, to understand someone else, it requires that you walk a mile in their shoes. You got to learn to look at things from the other person's perspective. And I don't mean this in the conventional sense. Let me explain myself. I'll help you analyze what I mean by this. Because that you've heard plenty times. Walk, look at it from the other person's perspective. If you've ever been in a fight, right? School, work, whatever, family, whenever you're put in front of a counselor, they always say, look at it from the other person's perspective. So this is not news to you. You've heard this many times before. Right? When your children fight, Buddha, look at it from Aya's perspective. But I want to take it to the next level. Really help you to understand the science behind looking at something from the other person's perspective. Not just trying to assume that you're the other guy, but actually looking at the science behind it. What's the logic behind it? How does it work? Do you remember, if not last week, the week before, we talked about something, and that was how the things that we do in our lives, we actually do out of necessity than choice. We do a lot of things in our lives, and I would even say everything in our life, because we have to do them, not because we want to do them. So it's out of necessity. There's a need to do it. If you didn't do it, you'd probably burst up. You'd probably have a mental breakdown. If you leave enough time without doing it, if you keep prolonging it for long enough, you're probably going to have a mental breakdown. A lot of people who end up in mental asylums do so because they have not been given the opportunity to relieve themselves of the vexations that arose in their mind for various reasons. Various reasons. Have you not heard of young guys who went mad because they kept asking a girl out but she never agreed? Put yourself in another person's shoes. The more this Dhamma sinks into you folks, right? You need to become sensitive to other people, how they feel. Ridding your mind of raga, dvesha, moha is not the same as being insensitive to how another man feels when they suffer from raga, dvesha, moha. They're not the same thing. Let me repeat myself. An arahant is someone who is very sensitive. An arahant is someone who is very sensitive. The Buddha is very sensitive. Not sensitive in the sense that you go and shout at him and then he goes to his room and starts crying for a week. That's not that kind of sensitive. That's the sensitivity that we talk about these days. That's not what I mean. His sense of empathy is boundless. An arahant is someone who is so empathetic. They know what it feels like to be you. Why? Because they've been there. We've been there. So while an arahant is someone who never feels the pangs of desire, aversion and delusion, he or she is someone who perfectly understands how someone who suffers from desire, aversion and delusion must feel like. And through that knowledge, through that perspective, they're able to empathize with you and not hold on to any grudges or feelings of ill will or hatred or anger. Because really all they see is raga, dvesha, moha, walking on 2 feet, rather than a person. So think about some of the examples I gave you a moment ago, right? How there are events that might have happened in your life where you have been unable to move on. And remember, I'm not talking about the forgetting. You don't really have to forget. It's okay to be remembered of things that people have done to you, words that might have been said to you which hurt your feelings. It's okay. Don't try to forget them. Because I believe that there may be some among you who try to forget the past. It's pointless. Don't do that. The more you try to forget, the more it will keep coming back. That's the way it is. If you've ever been in a bad relationship, the more you try to forget it, the more you keep being reminded about it. So don't try to forget it. Don't force yourself to forget it. It's pointless. This is like trying to fight an enemy. To fight an enemy, you got to go and stand in front of the guy. So why do you call this guy an enemy? Because you don't like him. So you want to fight him. But to fight him, you got to go confront him. So, are you not the very person that's going in front of the person that you don't like? It's a bit like that. There's something on the floor and you don't like it. So, you want to get rid of it. What must you do? Walk away from it or walk towards it? There's something in this room that you don't like. And you want to throw it out. You want to get it out of the room. Must you walk away from it or must you walk towards it? You got to work towards it. Why? So you can take hold of it and then throw it out. So if there's something you don't like, then you're constantly walking towards it to get rid of it. So it doesn't work. Don't try to forget things. So I'll agree with the forgive part, but I'm not a big fan of the forget part because it doesn't work. I tried to. Things have happened in my life, I tried to forget. No, it don't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You just need to learn to forgive. Once you've forgiven, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you're reminded of it. So let me explain to you the science behind forgiving then. Now, in order to do this, I want you all to think about someone. Potentially it's going to be someone rather than a thing. Think of someone who you are struggling to forgive. So let's actually do this practically. Where do I start, Swaminathan? So there's a long list. Okay, you can do the rest of them for homework. Okay, let's just take one. There's one person who keeps troubling you, the memory of whom keeps you awake at night, lest you are reminded of them. There's one person who you'd hate to receive a call from. There's one person who you'd hate to see staring at the face when you open your front door. There's one person who you'd hate to bump into along the street as you go doing your shopping. Right? There's one person that you absolutely don't like because they have wronged you. They've done something, said something to hurt your feelings, and now you are struggling to forgive. See, in fact, the reason that you see someone like this and you walk away is because you're trying to forget, not forgive. You're trying to forget. Because when you see them, you're reminded of them, and then along with that, all the past memories keep flooding back. They start flooding back, don't they? It's like a deluge. It all starts flooding back, like a tsunami. So that guy, this lady or this man, this gent that you're thinking about right now, how does that make you feel right now? That you're reminded of this person? If we did if we took a consensus temperature check on the dvesha right now in this room, how do you think we'll be doing? RDM scale? Where do you think your D is going to be? Pretty high, huh? All right, let's fix it. We can fix it. To do that, you've got to get in their shoes and walk a mile in their shoes. But here's what I mean by that. It's not in the very conventional sense of walking a mile in their shoes. We talked last week, or I think the week before, that the things that we do are things that have been done out of necessity. We have been forced to do the things that we have done. Why are you breathing right now? Because you want to or because you have to? Everyone? You sure? Sure? How do you know? How do you know you're breathing right now? Because you have to, not because you want to. Exactly. If you don't do it, then the alternative is going to be a lot more painful. It's not fun to breathe. It's not fun to breathe. But the alternative is a lot less fun. So whenever we make choices, or at least when we feel like we are making choices, folks, it's not really... even I have said, having sat on this seat, that we always have choices. I have said this in the past. But today, and I not that I deny what I said earlier on, not that I say, no, actually what I said there was wrong, but today, what I said, let's look at from another lens. This is a high resolution lens. Really, we have no choice. Ultimately, we have no choice. We simply fall onto the path of least resistance. You're in the middle of a junction, right? There are 4 roads which extend from this junction. Okay? And as you're standing in the center of the junction, there are 4 people running towards you. Each of them have got weapons. One of them's got a gun. The other has got a club. The other has got a cleaver. Okay? And the other's got a stick. A wooden stick. Now, if you stay where you are, if you stay put, what's going to happen? They're all going to come towards you and you're going to get a good beating. So, now you're going to have to move. Which way are you going to run? Stick. Most likely towards the guy who's holding the stick. Take away all the other options. Just for a moment, just imagine the other 3 things aren't happening. What are you doing right now? You're running towards someone who's running at you with a stick. That seems mad, does it not? In this make-believe scenario, I've said first there were 4 roads, and on each of these there are 4 people, they're all running at you. One's got a gun, the other's got a club, the other's got a cleaver, okay, a knife, and there's another guy with a stick. Now when I ask you the question, what are you going to do right now? You're telling me that you're going to start running towards the guy who's got the stick in his hand. Okay? If you remove all the other 3 people, just imagine now for a moment that there's only that road and none of the other roads. So someone who's observing you can only see that you're running towards a guy who's holding a stick, running at you, to hit you. Does that seem like a sensible thing to do? No, because what are you doing? You're running at someone who's got a stick and this guy wants to beat you up. Really what you ought to be doing is running away from the guy. But now you're running towards the guy. So then tell me, are you running towards this guy because you want to? Or is it because you have to? You have to. Because when all things are considered, this is the path of least resistance. The path of least friction. The path that brings you the least amount of pain. Because had you picked one of the other routes, you'd have suffered more. Are you all with me on that? You have picked the path which is going to present you with the least amount of pain. Had you picked any of the other 3 routes, you'd have suffered more. Because why? One guy's got the gun, that's going to be a lot more painful. The other's got a club, painful. The other's got a knife. So the damage that can be inflicted with either of these 3 weapons is much more serious, one would assume, than with a stick, an ordinary stick. Therefore, you're running at this guy, towards this guy. But if you ignore the other 3 options and look at it just from that angle, it looks like you're doing something really silly. You're running at someone who's got a stick in his hand and he's running at you because he wants to beat you up. So one would ask, what the hell are you doing? Why are you running towards the car? You should be running the other way. But show some light on the other three options. Now it seems like actually you're doing a sensible thing. In fact, you're doing the right thing. See, it's all a matter of perspective. It's all a matter of perspective. Whenever we think we make decisions in our lives, folks, whenever we feel like we're making choices, really what we're doing is we're picking the path which is going to present us with the least amount of pain. I'll give you a really simple example. You all had this experience this morning. Today's a Sunday, right? Sunday's rest day. Generally, Sundays are the days when alarm clocks go on snooze, more so than other days. Right? An extra 5 minutes, extra 10, extra 15 minutes, just a little bit more. Just 5 more minutes. Sundays are very popular for that purpose. Clocks go on snooze more often than other days. Okay? Now, if it were a working day, some say Monday to Friday, and you're all either in work or school, when the alarm goes off and it's time to wake up, why do you hit the snooze button? Why? Because you're sleepy. I mean, is this a hard question? Have you never done this? Have you never done this? Do it all the time, huh? So why do you hit the snooze button? Because you're far too sleepy. You want an extra 5 minutes. But before you hit the snooze button, do you not have this debate in your own mind? Do I get up now and then not have to rush my morning chores? Or do I sleep an extra 5-10 minutes and then I have to rush the morning duties? Do you not have to make that choice? You have a few moments to make that decision before you hit the snooze button, as you're feeling about in the darkness. Right? You're half asleep, half awake. While your hand is doing the walking, your fingers are doing the walking towards your phone to put it on snooze or your alarm. Your mind is trying to debate this dilemma. Do I wake up now or do I wake up in 15 minutes time? And then if I wake up now, I can just go about my morning schedule quite easily. Or if I sleep an extra 15 minutes, I'm going to have to suffer. You are now presented with two options. Either you wake up now and then feel sleepy for the rest of the day, or you take an extra 15 minutes and then rush. Which of these two preferences do you feel lucky to be having? Which of these two decisions are you lucky that you are able to make? Do you feel lucky that you're able to make this decision? Decision one, I'm going to have a heavy head because I need a few more minutes of sleep, but I'm not going to take it. So when you wake up, you're going to have a runny nose, you're going to have red eyes, right? Bloodshot eyes and heavy head and sleepy throughout the day. Or rush, and maybe you might even miss your bus. You might miss your bus, then you're going to have to catch the regular bus, so miss your school van, then you're going to have to then catch the bus. You know all of this. Which of these two options are you lucky to be able to make? Do you feel lucky to be able to make any of these? Neither. Because they are both options of suffering. You can either suffer by taking option one, or you can suffer by taking option two. They're both suffering. In this moment, you have to make a choice though. All you have to do is follow your instinct. Because your instinct will lead you towards the option which is less evil, less suffering, which presents you with less suffering. That's all it is. So when you put these two options on a scale, and that scale is called the scale of suffering, it's going to tilt one way or the other. Option A or option B. Both of these will bring you suffering. It just depends. The only difference is one's going to bring you X amount of suffering, the other is going to bring you X plus a certain amount of suffering. That's all it is. Think of the last time you went shopping. Do you like to collect money or do you like to spend money? Who here enjoys spending money? Usually you'd like to save up money, right? Because it's nice to have a nest egg, some people call it. Something to fall back on in case something happens, right? So people like to save money more than spend, generally speaking. But when you need to, say, go for a wedding, go to a wedding or some kind of party, right? Now you have to go and do your shopping. You got to go and buy something, buy a new sari, buy trousers or a suit or jackets, whatever. You don't like spending money, or you also don't like going to the party without something new, something interesting, something that looks exciting, something that people are going to comment on, something that's going to earn you some compliments. Because both of these options are painful. Now you pick one simply because that option is the less painful of the two. So it's really the lesser of two evils. That's all it is. Think about any decision you've made in your life and ask yourself, was this not what you were presented with? Some of you here will have decided to get married at some point in your life. Right? Some of you will have decided. Some of you are deciding, perhaps in the future. Some of you have already made that choice. So think back at the day you actually thought, right, I need to get married. Were you not presented with two options? Either get married or don't get married. What if you didn't get married? Then you'd be all by yourself. You'd grow old, you'd be alone. No one to look after you, no one to take care of you, no one to talk with you. No one to be by your side. When your parents pass away, then you'll be all alone by yourself. Friends will come and go in your life, but you need a partner. Without a partner, you're all alone. So that's option one, if you don't get married. But what about option two? Get married. Now, is it a bed of roses? Come on, speak up. Those of you who have experienced the bliss of marriage, is it a bed of roses? No, of course not. Did you not foresee these things back then? To some extent you will have, but perhaps not to the full extent. Some of it you will have. Of course, anyone knows. When you get married to someone, you're going to have to invest your time and energy to maintaining that relationship. Right? What about the in-laws? Did you not expect them? I can see you rolling your eyes. Tell me about them, Swami. The inheritance? Not that inheritance. In-laws' inheritance. Inheriting your in-laws. Did you not see that? So, did you not foresee that suffering? Did you not see how your parents had arguments and fights sometimes? And how they used to have arguments about their in-laws and the problems that they used to have? So, of course, you knew there's going to be a fair share of trouble coming your way with the moment you tied the knot. And of course, it also was that from this day forward, my options are limited. Up until this point, I had plenty of options, but now I'm restricted. Only one option. You know what I mean? Even in terms of companionship, right? So all of these you considered, but ultimately you had to make a choice. You had to make a choice. Do I get married? Do I not get married? Which of these two options will you feel you were lucky to be able to make? Do you consider yourself to be lucky to have been presented with these two options? Or do you not see today then that these two options were both options of suffering? You just picked the one which was less of a suffering than the other. Think. I'm giving you time to think. I'm giving you time to reflect on this. And it wouldn't have mattered who your partner was. You could have been married to the most perfect husband, the most perfect man alive, the most perfect woman alive, still. Right? Old age, sickness and disease and illnesses, no one's free from them. So that's going to come your way. And when your partner is ill, of course, that brings a fair share of burden on your shoulders as well. So you're presented with two options. It was never that one option was the lovely option and the other was the ugly option. It was never like that. Actually, no, they were both ugly. You just went for the one that was less ugly than the other. School. Going to school. A few young children here, right? So you can relate to this. Marriage is still coming for them, right? So it's still some way away. But school, two options. You either go to school or you don't go to school. Which one is the lovely option? Which one's the ugly option? They're both ugly. How so? If you don't go to school, then no education, no qualifications, no job, no money, you can't make a living. If you go to school, homework, exams, stress, tension, take away your playtime, all of that. So again, when you are presented with the option, you think you're making a choice because you want to. But no, it's not a choice that has come out of want. It's really a choice out of necessity. These two options put on a scale, one was giving you so much suffering, the other was giving you so much and a little bit more. So you took the one with lesser suffering. Existence can be summed up through this. Existence summed up. Every day, every moment you're making options. You're making choices, but these choices are based on two options. Either you do go for it or you don't go for it. But both these paths look ugly. You just go for the one that looks less scary, the one that looks less ugly, the one that looks less frightening, the one that looks less worrying. That's what we do. Just think about any experience in your life. Any time you had to make a choice, and see if you can come up with any one example which does not agree with what I have just expressed. Anything, even breathing. Run into the toilet when you need it. Which one's the lovely path? Which one's the ugly path? You need to go to the toilet. Which one's the lovely path? Which one's the ugly path? They're both ugly. But you're going to have to pick one or the other. One's less painful than the other, therefore you go for that. Do you like sweeping? Cleaning the house? Washing up dishes? Who likes that? Who enjoys that? If you do, please tell me, because we've got plenty. At the monastery every day, after we've given alms, there's plenty of dishes to be cleaned. So if you really enjoyed washing dishes, then come around every afternoon. No, but can you go without doing them? No. Now even at our monastery, the young monks, we teach them. We teach them a bit of science. We teach them a bit of math. We teach them English. We teach them Sinhala. We teach them a little bit of history. Oh, and Sanskrit and Pali. Why did I ordain? Was there a lovely path and an ugly path? Or were they both ugly? Think. Was it a lovely path and an ugly path, or were they both ugly? One's less ugly than the other. Less painful than the other. See, I can't say the path to nirvana is easy. What you have to do is simple, but it's not easy. When someone comes and ordains, there's a code of conduct that we have to live our lives by. As monks and nuns, the code of conduct and discipline which the Buddha had laid down, right? Now, let's take as an example. Let's say a young monk, okay, who ordains in the ministry, or he ordains in the shasana, and he still wants to, as a lay boy, he watched TV. He liked his computer games. He liked music. We've got plenty of them. As a lay person, whenever you felt the need to watch TV, listen to music, be with friends, you could do it just like that. Go to your living room, switch on the TV. Now you can watch TV. When you want to listen to music, turn on the radio, you can listen to your music. When you want to play on your computer, switch it on, you can play it. But at the monastery, we don't have a TV. So young monks or old monks, so it doesn't matter how, age is not the deciding factor here. Someone who wants to watch TV, if they ordain and particularly come to our monastery, you ain't going to get to watch any TV. So to them, it's going to be tough. Had they been at home, then you wouldn't have to bear the pain for any length of time. If you want to watch it, go sit down in front of the TV and start watching. Now you're able to relieve yourself of vexation. But as a monk, you can't relieve yourself of all the vexations that build up on the inside, because we are not in the business of relieving ourselves from vexations. We are in the business of eradicating vexation, extinguishing the fire, not controlling it. So with our young monks, and I'll come to the question about education, with our young monks, right, it may be that in their lay lives, if they wanted a chocolate, right, all you have to do is ring Dad on your way home. Please, can you get me a chocolate? Please, can you get us a pizza on your way home? Yeah, sure, Puta. I'm just half an hour away. I'll stop by Pizza Hut on the way home. Simple. But what about as a monk? Can't do that. What we consume, what we eat is simply what you offer. So if you bring pizza, then it's pizza. But if you don't bring pizza, we can go and ask you, can you please bring us a pizza on your way here? So what we do is we'll help our monks and our anagarikas and whoever comes to the monastery. And not just people who come to the monastery, but this is what we teach. This is the Buddha's philosophy. Extinguish the need, extinguish wanting, extinguish desire, so that you no longer want it. However, until you have done that, you're going to have to be patient. That's why in the first 20 years, before the Buddha started laying out the Vinaya, or the code of conduct, the discipline, there were 3 stanzas that he uttered to his monks. And that was all that was required. It was called the Anapatimoksha. Basically, it was an order. He simply gave an order. Monks, this is how you must live your lives. Not like the 227 rules that you have now. That all came after the first 20 years. But in the first 20 years, all he had were 3 stanzas. The first line of it is Kanti Paramang Tapo Titikka. Kanti is to be patient. Patience is a virtue, you will have heard that. See, he starts his instruction to his monks on conduct with patience. Monks, be patient. What does he mean? What he means is, as a monk now, there may be things that you want to do which you were able to do just like that as a layperson, but no longer are you able to do them. So, practice patience. Practice patience. So, is that not ugly? The fact that you have to be patient? I mean, who likes to be patient? Now, why do they say patience is a virtue? Because it's not easy. Is it easy to be patient? No. Someone's shouting at you, you can't shout back. But you want to shout back, but you don't. Have you not had this experience? You hold back the emotions because you can't. If you shout, then, think about this, right? Your teacher is shouting at you, or your principal is shouting at you. Your boss is shouting at you. You got two choices. One, you can shout back and then lose your job or get kicked out of school, get detained. Two, you can be patient and just let him say what he wants to say and be patient and continue to be patient. Which of these two options is the lovely one? Which one's the ugly one? Aren't they both ugly? They're both ugly. You don't like getting detained, you don't like losing your job, and it's not easy to be patient either. That is painful. Isn't being patient painful? It really hurts on the inside to be patient. That's why they say you have to practice patience. Patience is a virtue because you have to practice it. It doesn't come to us naturally, to most people at least. It comes through practice. So they're both ugly parts. Just one's uglier than the other. But there will be some occasions on which, right, some people in the workplace, right, every day the boss has a habit of telling this guy off. He's patient on the first day, continues to be patient, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, weeks pass by, and then there's going to be one day he's going to burst out. Have you not seen these YouTube videos where people, they just type in on the computer, right? The guy sends a printout to the printer. He sends it again, there's no printer, there's no printout. He sends it again, there's no printer. What does he do next? He walks up to the printer, picks it up, and then throws it out the window. Or throws it across to the other on the ground. Or smashes it on the wall or something. Sometimes the guy sat next to this person, his phone keeps ringing. You should watch this sometime when you get a chance. The phone keeps ringing. The person sat next to him. His colleague's phone keeps ringing. He says, please, can you put it on mute? I'm trying to focus. I'm trying to do something. It keeps ringing. Keeps ringing. This is patience. He's trying to be patient as much as he possibly can until the last straw that's going to break the camel's back. So it's going to reach a threshold. Once it reaches that threshold, now it's fire time. Then all hell breaks loose at that moment. All that tension that was festering on the inside, you were trying to contain on the inside, all of that breaks loose. Now that anger is vented, and the venting of that anger, the venting of that frustration, that annoyance can cause devastating damage. Sometimes it can take someone's life. So which one's the lovely path? Is it being patient when the guy's phone keeps going off? Or is he actually picking his phone up and throwing it across the room? Which one's the lovely path? Which one's the lovely path? Which one's the ugly path? They're both ugly. They're both ugly. Just one's uglier than the other. One's uglier than the other until it comes to the threshold. Once it reaches the threshold, now you flick. Because you have been trying to be patient for so long and you've tried it, but now you can't be patient anymore. Then what do? You burst. It's like a balloon. You keep blowing it and blowing and blowing it and blowing it, and at one point what's going to happen? The balloon's going to burst. Because there's a limit. Don't you say this? Don't try to test my limit. Don't you threaten people like that? Buddha, you're making me angry now. Don't test my limit. Now we say it with such grandeur, right? Like, I'm an important person, so don't test my limit. Really, it's a really shameful thing to say. It's a really shameful thing to say. The fact that your patience has a limit is not something to be proud about. It's something to be shameful of. In other words, what you're saying is, don't drive me so up against the wall, because there's going to be one point where I'm going to fail. Really, it's a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of strength. I think last week or the week before I reminded you about this. Anger is not a sign of strength, it's a sign of weakness. Shouting back at someone, shouting out at someone is not a sign of strength, it's a sign of weakness. But our society has painted a very different picture. Don't people say that? Buddha, don't speak to him like that, right? He gets angry very easily. He's a very respectable man. You mustn't upset him. He gets annoyed, right? So stay away. Don't do anything to upset him. We have learned to... just think about the principal at school. I'm not saying all principals are like that, but, sometimes. We are so afraid to walk in front of the principal's office. Sometimes so scared. There are some teachers we were so afraid of, so scared to walk in front of them. If you see them approaching you, you take a detour, walk around them. You're so scared of them. The reason for that is sometimes people think that being scary is the same thing as being respected. There are people in society like that. You must have come across people like that, who think to be respectful, to earn people's respect, you have to be this scary guy. You have to be an angry guy. This is how you earn people's respect. No, respect and fear are not one and the same. Respect and fear are very opposite emotions. They are on opposite ends of the spectrum. If someone respects you or someone pretends to respect you because they are scared of you, particularly parents, I want you to think about what your home environment is like. If you expect your children to respect you and to earn their respect, you are an angry dad. I know some families like that. The father is always angry. He puts on an angry face, and whenever something happens, he shouts, throws things on the floor, right? Bangs doors and the cupboards and drawers, right? Making loud noises. Speaks up to the mother in a loud noise, in a loud voice, right? Always shouting at the children. This is their way of earning respect. That's mad. Because what you have earned is not respect. You have earned fear. Well done. That is fear. Fear is a sign of cowardliness. If you're scared of someone, because they get angry all the time, that person gets angry because they're a coward. But respect should be something totally different. You should respect someone because of their virtues. You should respect someone because they deserve to be respected, because you see in them qualities, great qualities, which earn their respect, which are worthy of respect. Are you scared of the Buddha, or do you respect the Buddha? You really respect him. You're not scared of him. If you ask the Buddha, Venerable Sir, I'm scared of you. How do you feel about that? What would the Buddha say? He would say, don't insult me, you fool. He would say, don't insult me. Wouldn't he? If you walk up to me and say, Swaminatha, sometimes I feel really scared coming and talking to you. All I can say is, please don't insult me. Because what you're saying is, I have a limit to my patience. What you're telling me is, Swaminatha, there's a weakness with you. Right? We don't know what that threshold is. I'm just so scared that if I say something, I'm going to cross that limit. And you're a very unpredictable person. So I had best keep my distance from you. Really, that's an insult. It's not a mark of respect. As that point came up, I want you all to think about how you are at home. Because usually when you're at home, right, you drop your guards and you are yourself at home most of the time. You're yourself. Because you're in the presence of your family, people who you take for granted, right? So you can walk all over them. You can talk to them how you want. Isn't that right? When you're among your loved ones, you take them for granted. Husbands take wives for granted. Wives take husbands for granted. Children take parents for granted. Parents take children for granted. Everyone takes everyone for granted when you're among loved ones. So the respect, the love, the affection that was shown before these two people came together is no longer expressed. Why? Because I take her for granted. They'll not admit it, but that's the truth. That's pathetic. That's really pathetic. Signs of cowardliness. Shameful. Really, what must happen is the respect that you have for each other must grow day by day by day. I'm talking about your personal lives first. Think about these things. Apply them if it relates to you. If at home a husband and wife, right? If the wife is always scared of the husband, do you think that's a loving relationship? You think there's respect in that relationship? No, actually there's fear in that relationship. So if you're the husband, then ask yourself, does your wife respect you or does she fear you? If she fears you, you're a coward. Shame on you. If your husband fears you, he's so worried about saying the next thing. He's so scared about saying the next thing, but the next thing he says might throw you into a hissy fit. If he's so scared of saying the next thing to you, parents, if your children are so scared to walk up to you, to talk up to you, to say then what comes into their mind because of fear, because you might beat them up, you might threaten them, right? If they're so worried, so scared of talking to you, expressing their views, shame on you. That's not a sign of respect, that's a sign of cowardliness. Change. So talking about education, so just back on that, rather than, I want to answer the question as you brought it up, and it's a good question. So at our monastery also, we teach our young monks, we teach them the basic things that they need to learn as citizens living in the country. Right? If someone comes to the monastery, because although we try to seclude ourselves from the rest of the world, we still are in this world. So, we still have light bills to pay, that we sometimes have to go to the offices to get things done, right? So we are still people who live like everyone else on this planet, and then there are things that we need to learn, again out of necessity, so that we can interact with the world, but those interactions are kept to a minimum, to what they need to be. So our young monks, while they don't get a school education like they used to, having become ordained now, we still teach them the basics that they need to learn, like science and math and language. Now we've started teaching some young monks Chinese, we've started teaching them Hindi, we've started teaching them English, so that they can become fluent in these languages and take the teaching of the Buddha to other countries, to help spread the word of the Dhamma to other people, so that they can heal their hearts as much as yours. So, yes, until you get to Nirvana, you're still here. It's like 1 foot in Nirvana, 1 foot still on earth. So we like to think of ourselves as being really grounded people, right? We're not airy-fairy people, we are grounded. So we will do what we need to do to be able to interact with people and teach them what they need to learn. But again, it's not a lovely path, it's still an ugly path. Ask those young monks if they like to wake up in the morning and sit down for their maths class. Of course they won't like it. Ask them if they would like to be sitting down for their science class and language class, history class. No, they don't like it. I'm sure they don't like it. But we've got to do it. So their options were, do I stay in a lay life and go to school and take up 10 subjects or whatever, or do they become a monk and then dedicate their lives to practicing the path, but alongside that, learn a few lessons so that they can keep themselves afloat. So both ugly paths, but one's uglier than the other. Therefore, they have come and ordained themselves. But hopefully this path, this ugly path, is the last ugly path that we have to walk on. Because at the end of this path, there's a destination, an ultimate destination, Nirvana. Beyond that, there are no more paths, there are no more choices we have to make. Because while we're alive, we always have to keep making choices. You have a choice now, don't you, of whether you're here or not? You can stand up and leave any moment you want. That's a choice. So right now you have made a choice that, no, I'm going to stay here. Next moment, again you make that choice. Next moment, again you make that choice. You're always making choices. But these choices are always the choice of least friction, least conflict. Sometimes have you not been in this situation where it might have even been in these sermons? You need the toilet, or you need to go out quickly for a comfort break, whatever, right? But you don't want to interrupt the sermon. So you will bear the pain. You will wait until Swami Wahanse concludes the sermon. Why? Because you have two options again. One, you stay put. That's ugly. Why? Well, it's hurting. You want the toilet, but you can't go. So that's painful. But two, if you stand up, then it may also interrupt the sermon. It may interrupt someone else's attention. And you might miss what's going to be said next. So that also you don't want to miss. You don't like either option. You don't like either option, so you pick the less uglier one. We always do that. We always pick the less uglier option. But all options presented to us are ugly. We just pick the uglier option. So where am I going with this? I was talking about forgiveness and how do you learn to forgive. When we begin to understand, folks, that whenever we have made choices in our lives, and these choices were made out of necessity, simply because we couldn't bear the pain of not making that decision. See, that's all it is. You couldn't keep putting it off forever. At some point you had to make the decision, because if you didn't, then you're going to fall into a pit of more suffering. Right? Let's say cooking. I certainly didn't like cooking, so I'm going to assume that most people don't. But how long can you go hungry? Right? Mothers will know that you're going to have to go into the kitchen and start cooking something at some point. Even if it's a weekend, right? You can only stay in bed for so long, and then you're going to have to get out of bed. Why? Because life has to go on. You're going to have to do the chores. You're going to have to clean. You're going to have to wash. You're going to have to cook. You're going to have to do all these things. You're going to have to go to work. So even if you're hungry, you could say, okay, I'm only a little bit hungry, so I'm not going to bother go and making something. I'm going to wait for a little bit longer. Then you keep getting hungrier and hungrier and hungrier. And once it gets to one point where you can no longer bear hunger. So what do you do then? Now you have no option other than going into the kitchen, at least opening the fridge and taking something out and eating it. If that was fun, you would have done it the moment you wanted to go and eat. But no, it wasn't fun. It's also an ugly path. But hunger is also an ugly path. At one point you made the decision. See, up until the point where you actually stood up and walked to the kitchen, the uglier decision, the uglier path was actually walking to the kitchen. Now it's switched. Now the uglier path is the hunger that you're experiencing. That's the uglier path. That's the less enjoyable path. The more painful path is now tolerating hunger. This is really simple stuff. So how do we use this knowledge to help us forgive people? You see, if even simple things like breathing, eating, washing, cooking, right, have been driven by necessity, then think about the things that people have done to you. Think about the things that people have done to you. The guy who borrowed your money, but he didn't return it. He didn't return it. We feel that was because he had something against us. Because what we do is we try to personify events. Because there's a me, there's a self, right? And so we say, that problem happened to me. I am the subject of the problem. Really, no, there's a problem. The me is a fabrication. We make it up. The problem exists, but it's just a problem, not my problem. When we create the self, we make it my problem. So the self is the bridge between problem and suffering. Without the self, there's just a problem, but no suffering. The moment you introduce a self into this, now the problem connects self to suffering. Or rather, self connects problem and suffering. That's the bridge. That completes the circuit. Take away self, it's just a problem, no suffering. The self of, as in the sense of a me, the sense of a self, the sense of an I am here, so really that problem's happening to me. We make it that way. We allow problems to bring us suffering. Do you understand that? We allow problems to bring us suffering. There are problems in this world, right? Climate change, that's a problem. We're running out of fuel, that's a problem, yes. The world's running out of energy, yes, that's a problem. The world's running out of fresh water, yes, that's a problem. Global climate change and pollution, that's a problem, yes. They're all problems. Debt, that's a problem. HIV, AIDS, that's a problem. Polio, that's a problem. They're all problems. But suffering doesn't come into the picture until the self comes into the picture. Because the moment you introduce a self, now it's whose problem? Whose problem? Now it's my problem. Now it's my problem. Why? Because when you introduce the self, now you have to foster the self, you have to maintain the self, you have to sustain the self. And all these events that are happening on the outside, they are a threat to the existence of the self. Let me give you a really simple example. Inflation. Is that not a problem? Of course it's a problem. Inflation is a problem. But when does it become my problem? Well, let's find out. Me. Who am I? I'm just me. How does my exist? How do I exist? How do I live? How do I survive? I use my 5 senses to see, to smell, to taste, to touch. Bring in these sense inputs from the outside world. The sense inputs that come from the outside world is the food, is the nutriment to keep me going. The me. I'm not talking about this body, by the way, okay? I'm talking about the self that I have created. The sense of mama, me, the self, that I have created and I keep fostering. And baby Natasha. If you all remember baby Natasha, right? This is baby Natasha. We keep feeding the baby through the inputs that come from the outside world. Now, these things that come from the outside world, they have to come from outside objects. They have to come from these objects. So they have to come from the sights that I see, the sounds that I hear, the smells that I inhale, the taste that my tongue can feel, and the senses and the physical sensations that my body can sense. So they have to come from outside worldly objects, like a television, for example. So I bring home a TV so my eyes can see, so my ears can hear. But it's not my eyes and ears that want to hear. It's the self, it's that baby Natasha that wants to see. It's the baby Natasha that wants to hear. The self wants to hear. The self wants to see. Because the self is nothing other than pleasure. It's pleasure. Why do we create a self? For the purpose of pleasure. Why does an arahant not have a self? Because he has seen the meaningless nature of pleasure. He has realized that pleasure is nothing other than relief from vexation. Having understood, having realized that, no longer does he sustain, no longer does he continue to foster this artificial self for the purpose of a false pleasure. He doesn't do that anymore. Because he doesn't do that anymore, there is no longer a self that needs to be fed constantly. So therefore, a TV is no longer required. Why? Well, why? I don't need particular kinds of sights. Anything goes. I don't care that it has to be a TV. But if I wanted to watch TV, now it's important that I am able to afford a TV. So what is it that makes a TV unaffordable? One of the factors is inflation. So how did inflation become a problem then? How did inflation bring me suffering then? Because of the self. Otherwise, inflation was just a problem. But because as a self, now I want to see, because I like to see sights, I like to look at things, I like to watch TV, I like to watch TV, I like to watch TV. Have you ever read this sentence? Like to watch TV? Have you ever read that sentence? Ever heard someone say, hey, like to watch TV? Ever heard that? No. What is it always? I like to watch TV. I. See, I am the problem. In fact, I connect problem with suffering. It's the bridge. I is the bridge that connects problem with suffering. I is the bridge that connects phone with suffering. That's how you get what? I is the bridge that connects phone with suffering. That's how you get what? iPhone, thank you. That's just a joke. No offense. But I am the bridge that connects problem with suffering. Problems exist in the world, folks. There's no question about that. Even the Buddha had problems. Even the Buddha had problems. He had a backache, physical ailments, right? There were plenty of problems where he had to control his monks. Why do you think he laid out the 227 rules? Because each of those rules were laid out to deal with a particular problem. Some of his monks they didn't conduct themselves in an orderly fashion. So when he got news that his monks were not behaving, they were not well behaved, now he started laying out rules. Why? What was he doing? He was offering solutions. To what? Problems. Were they his problems? No, they weren't his problems. The Buddha never said, I have a problem. Well, he might have said it in words, but there was never suffering that came along with that expression, because there wasn't a me, there wasn't an I to bridge the problem with suffering. So we took a short detour. Let's come back to the point I was talking about. Forgiveness. The best type of giving. The best type of giving, because forgiveness is the giving that makes us, the giver, feels great. Makes the giver feels greater than the receiver. Forgiving. To forgive. So how do we forgive? The science of forgiving. To forgive, we must first understand why the person that you feel have wronged you did so. You must understand the circumstances. Not the circumstances in terms of, that they were poor or they were really struggling. That's not what I'm talking about. You got to take it to the next level. When you take it to the next level, you begin to understand that all they really did was what they had to do, not what they wanted to do. So if someone took something that belonged to you folks, it's not because they liked to do it. It's because they had no other choice. What do I mean by that? They wanted something that you had. Okay? They saw it, they heard of it. Let's say there was a robber broke in, right? Some robbers, they broke into your home and they took something that belonged to you. They wanted something. It might have been, say, a watch. You lost a watch, someone stole it from you. Or say you got pickpocketed. In a bus, in a train, somewhere, right? Someone pickpocketed you. So how did that happen? They saw something, now they wanted it. When someone wants something, you will know, how does that make you feel? You want something. How does that make you feel? Is that a feeling of joy or is that a feeling of anxiety? You want something and you don't have it. How does that make you feel? Why do we have home delivery now? Because people don't like to wait. Why do we have instant everything now? Why do we have instant movie download? Instant noodles? Instant hot chocolate? Why is everything instant now? Reduce suffering. How does it reduce suffering? Because you have cut down the wait time between wanting and having. That's how it's less suffering. And as science develops, as commerce and technology develops, the wait time will reduce, will keep reducing. How come people invented the telephone? Why do you think the telephone was invented as a gift to mankind, or was that because people were suffering so much that they had to invent the phone? And that's what happened. Right? People suffered because they couldn't listen to their loved ones. If I want to listen to your voice, sir, how long do you think I like to wait before I get to hear it? If I want to listen to your voice, how long do you think I like to wait? I want it like this. I want it now. If you want something, when do you want it? Now you want it. You want it now. Not tomorrow, you want it now. Given the choice, you'll have it now. So what does science and technology allow us to do? Bring future promises to the present moment. Things that may be available to you in future. What science and technology and commerce helps us do is cut down the wait time so that we can be offered what we want, not tomorrow, but now. What has the internet enabled us to do? Bring things to the now. You can now download movies. You can listen to songs on YouTube and Spotify and all these channels, right? There's messaging technologies, right? Facebook and telephones and chats and things like that, right? Because people want to communicate with people. And when you want to do something, folks, it's not tomorrow you want to do it, you want it now. People are less relying on snail mail now, and they moved on to email, then moved on to chat. Why? They didn't like to wait. If I want to give you a message, I don't want to give it to you tomorrow. I want to give it to you now. If I want to hear your voice, I don't want to hear it tomorrow. I want to hear it now. Because tomorrow I might not want to hear your voice. When the trailer comes on the screens, right? New movies come into town, the trailer, they show you the trailer. Fantastic movie, right? The newspapers have rated it highly, right? All the film critics have rated it highly, and they say all this on the trailer, and they show you the best scenes from the trailer. Okay, and now you look at it and go, wow, that's a great movie. I'm asking you the question, when do you want to watch it? Do you not have a question to ask me in return? Like, why are you even asking that's a question? When you see the billboards as you drive down the road, right? They show a billboard of pizza, cheese melting, spicy pepperoni, right? Smoke coming out of it. When do you want the pizza? Now that I've said it, when do you want it? You want it now, not tomorrow, not later. You want it now. Right? So, you will do whatever it takes to get it now. Now, of course, as a civilized society, we have put in rules and regulations. See, is it not shameful that we are a society that is governed by rules and regulations? Do you think it's a blessing? Do you think that we can be proud about the fact that we have rules and regulations? Or do you not think it's shameful? We have rules and regulations. Why? Because otherwise, when someone wants something, there's no saying what they may be willing to do to get it. There's no saying what someone might be willing to do to get it. That's why we have rules. That's why we have the law. That's why we have regulations, to stop people from doing bad things. Because when someone wants something, you're inclined to do even bad things to get it. Because generally, folks, it's easier to do a bad thing than it is to do a good thing. It's harder to rear a young lamb or a cow and make it grow into a big animal. But to kill an animal just takes one blow. It's very difficult to bring a child into this world and to take care of it, right? To give it a good upbringing and shape it and mold it into a responsible adult. But to kill a human being doesn't take very long. See, it's very easy to do bad things. It's very difficult to do good things. If you want to give alms to a monastery, is that an easy thing to do or a hard thing to do? You want to give alms to the monastery. You want to bring food round to the monks. Is it easy or hard to do? It's hard. It's very hard. Especially if someone like our monastery, we have about 40 monks. Then we have about 10 anagarikas all together. And we have other people who come and go. So usually there are about 50 mouths to feed per meal. Right? So if someone actually wants to come and give alms to the entire monastery, this is why we say please share with others, so that others get an opportunity to join in that meritorious deed. But if someone wants to do it all by themselves, that's a very difficult thing to do. But if you wanted to poison the monks, that's really easy to do. Right? Come and join the buffet as the monks are going on Pindapata. And all you have to do is go and stand by the dal curry and drop something in it. You can do it like that. And then all 50 people dead in a matter of few minutes. You see, it's really easy to do bad things, but very difficult to do good things. That's the way the world is. It's really easy to hit somebody, but very difficult to be patient. Is it not? It's really easy to shout at someone, but to be patient, it's difficult. Good things are always hard to do. Bad things are so easy to do. So then, the reason I'm bringing this point up is, if you are not someone who has practiced the virtue of patience, when someone begins to vex, they're going to go for the least path of resistance, or the path of least resistance. And that path may be the path which leaves you the subject of pain inflicted by the other person who is doing something to relieve themselves from vexation. In other words, you lent some money to someone. Was that easy to do or hard to do? One, you had to trust the guy, right? And that trust took a while to build up. Two, it's money you could have spent somewhere else, right? So having trusted this person, you lend them the money. It's easy to lend, it's hard to lend them the money, but it's easy not to return it. You only have to think once, I'm not going to return it. It's easy not to return it. But for that person, it's easier not to return it. So if they're vexing for something, let's say they need the money for something else, right? Let's say the child, so there's a man who borrowed some money off of you. He said, yeah, I needed some money to start a business, right? And now his child has been diagnosed with cancer. Now he needs this money to help cure his child, to get his child treatment for cancer. That's not your concern. You need your money back. But this man, he wants to treat his child. So when you go and ask this man, why haven't you returned my money? Don't you think he's going to have a very reasonable justification from his perspective? From his perspective, he's going to have a perfectly reasonable justification. I didn't return the money because I need the money because my child's been diagnosed with cancer, so I need the money for his treatment. You might say, that's not my concern. You borrowed my money, you said you were going to return it in 3 months. It's been 6 months now. Where's my money? He's gonna say all these things to justify that he was right in making his decision. And really, as a matter of fact, when all things are considered, from his perspective, actually what he did was the right thing. Not from our perspective, but from his perspective, he thinks He genuinely thinks that he did the right thing. He genuinely thinks that he did the right thing. And that was because he had no other choice. He had no other option. He had no other option. He was so tied down by those circumstances, any other path had he picked. So he could have returned the money to you, but what would happen to his child? Child's been diagnosed with cancer. He could have returned your money. But the child's got cancer and the child's going to die. So you can't treat the child. Which one of these two options is for him the lovely one and the ugly option? Keeping the money and treating the child, or returning the money and seeing his child die? Which one's the lovely option? Which one's the ugly option? Which one? They're both ugly. They're both ugly. They're both painful. Therefore, what does he have to do? Pick the less ugly one. Pick the less painful one. You see, when someone does something wrong to you folks, what I'm asking you to do, what I'm inviting you to do, is look at it from that angle. I'm not saying give up your money and you just be like Robin Hood, give all the money you have to everyone and then just forget it. That's not what I'm asking you to do. What I'm saying is, don't hold grudges. When you begin to think of how people are really so destitute, they're helpless. They become helpless. They become helpless because every other option they have considered, and this appears to be the option of least friction, that is not returning the money to you. This is why I say when someone shouts at you, folks, they're a coward. Because the option that is of the path of least resistance for them is shouting at you so that they can vent their vexation. It's not something that they're proud of. It's simply they have picked the path that is least painful. Every other path would be more painful. What's going to happen if they don't shout at you? Think about it. Right, a guy's fuming. He's angry. Okay? He's angry, he's fuming. No, he's not. And he's not going to shout at you. He wants to, but he won't. But he doesn't shout at you. What's going to happen? What if he wants to shout, right? But you zip his mouth. What do you think is going to happen to this man? He's going to burst. There's going to be so much anger within him. He's going to explode. Not literally, but his mind is going to explode. He's probably going to go so insane and he's going to lose his mind. So, that if he had gone down that path of not shouting at you, he would have gone down the path of losing his mind. Therefore, at the point that he actually opens his mouth and he starts shouting at you, before he hits the threshold, or he's hit the threshold of I'm either not going to shout at you or I'm going to shout at you. He's been debating these two options. Because they didn't shout at you the moment that anger came into his mind. He waited. I won't shout. I'm not going to shout. I'm not going to shout. I'm not going to shout. But I can't wait any much longer. She's still making me angry. I can't wait much longer. I'm still not going to shout. I'm not going to shout. Shout. Think about how that mindset worked. Think about that mentality. How it built up to that point. It kept building up to that point, and that point of the point where any other option was not available. That was the only feasible option. That was the only available option. See, really, you're dealing with someone who's been helpless. This is a helpless man. You got to feel sorry for them. Not be angry in return. You got to be sorry for them because this is a helpless man. You got to feel sorry for them. When you begin to look at it from this angle, you become empathetic towards them. You really begin to sympathize with people. Actually, when someone's shouting at you, if you really understand what I'm talking about, folks, when someone starts to shout at you, you're going to laugh on the inside. In your mind, you'll be laughing. You'll be laughing, thinking to yourself, oh, poor folk, poor guy. Poor guy, look at him. Right? He's been holding on to his anger for so long. And he's come to this point whereby he's going to explode if he didn't do this. He would have exploded, but thankfully, to keep himself from exploding, he has found one vent to relieve himself from vexation. And that one vent was you. So that's how he took out his anger on you. All he's doing is he's trying to calm down his nerves. That's how much anger was in this guy's mind. That's how much this guy was tensed. He was going to explode on the inside. See, if you're really intelligent about this, right? You can even earn merit. I'm trying to show you how the glass can be half full. When someone's shouting at you, you can earn merit. How? You start reflecting on this situation and you think to yourself, I want to willingly help this person relieve themselves from vexation. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lend you my ear. Because what this guy needs now is a ear to vent his frustration, his anger on. So you just stand by, lend him your ear, and just don't say, okay, now say whatever you want. You don't have to say it out loud. But in your mind, you can think, right, I'm helping you. I'm helping you. Say, shout, whatever you want, shout. You can earn merit. Usually what people do is, in their mind, even if they can or cannot shout, they start to have feelings of resent again back towards this person. When someone's angry at you, the natural reaction is to be angry in return, right? Tit for tat, is to retaliate. To start thinking, how dare you shout at me? Wait until I get my chance and I'm going to tell you a new page. I'm going to show you who's boss. This is how people feel. So they're trying to fight anger with anger. That's not the way the Buddha taught us. That's why the Buddha says, Akkochimang avadimang ajinimang ahasime yetang na upanayhanti verang tesupa sammati. When someone shouts at you, blames you, scolds you, attacks you, the best way to handle yourself in those situations is not to fight anger with anger. It's not to fight anger with anger. Because when you meet violence with violence, what's going to happen? There's going to be more violence. But if you are intelligent, if you are clever, you can actually use this opportunity to relieve yourself from to actually earn merit. Tell me, you see a man who's hungry, right? As a beggar on the street. Is this man not in vexation? Physically at least, right? Physically he's vexing because he's hungry. That's a suffering, right? How do you earn merit given this situation? How can you earn merit? What can you do when you meet a hungry man to earn merit? Give him food. Give him food. What are you doing by giving him food? You are helping him relieve himself from suffering, right? Okay. Beggar comes up to you and he says, can I please have some money? So there's a poor man, right? He needs money. Or he needs medicine. He needs clothes. How can you make use of this opportunity to earn merit? By giving him what he asks. Someone has a problem. Let's say your workplace. One of your colleagues comes up to you and say, I've got this problem. I don't know how to complete this report. I'm struggling with this email. Please, can you help me? Given this situation, how can you earn some merit? By helping them with their problem, right? Okay. Man's angry. Is he not suffering? So much anger on the inside, he's suffering. Now you tell me, how can you make use of this opportunity to earn some merit? When he was hungry, you gave him food to relieve himself of hunger. When he was thirsty, you gave him some water to relieve himself of thirst. When he had a problem, you helped this man You helped him tackle his problem to relieve himself of the problem. Now I ask you the question. This man's angry and he's suffering. How can you make use of this opportunity to earn some merit? Yeah, absolutely. Listen to him. Because what is he looking for? He's looking for a ear. He just needs an ear. He's looking for an ear to vent the anger that has been building up on the inside. All you have to do is just sit down and listen to what he has to say. In your mind, think to yourself, I just want to help you. I want to help you relieve yourself of suffering. You will start earning merit from the moment you start doing that. Now, isn't that free merit? You don't even have to say anything. Right? You don't have to say anything. Giving someone something to eat, you have to do something. You got to go and cook. You got to go and pack it. You got to take it to the guy, and you got to give it to him. Right? A lot of work involved. When someone's angry, who's doing all the hard work? He's doing all the hard work. All you have to do is sit down like a potato and give him his ear. Give him your ear. All right, go on. Say whatever you have to say. Maybe once in a while, in a odd, like once every month, just do one of these things. Just nod your head. Yeah. Just nod your head from time to time. Right? That's all you have to do. Very little physical effort involved. Man's been hungry for 3 days. Another man's been hungry for 1 day. You have an opportunity to give both of these two people food. Okay, one's been hungry for 3 days, the other's been hungry for 1 day. Which one do you think is going to earn you more merit? 3 days or 1 day? 3 days. Why? More hunger, more hungry. This guy's more hungry, more suffering. One man's angry, another man's really, really angry. Okay, which of these two people have presented to you the opportunity to earn you more merit? The one who's angry or the one who's really, really angry? Really, really angry. But if all he's wanting to do is vent his anger, and all he's looking for is an ear to vent his anger on, then you can earn merit for free without doing anything. All you have to do is lend them your ear. So if he believes that you're scared, you have answered your own question, madam. It's a weakness. So if it's a weakness with me, then where should I treat? There's a weakness with me. Who should I treat? Me. Excellent. Well, that is what we're talking about. That is where we use the Dhamma. So we don't try and fix the other person. Remember what we said the other day? I don't like what you say. So I'm going to change myself. I don't like how you talk to me, so I'm going to change myself. I don't like the fact that you're shouting at me, so I'm going to change myself. What do I mean by this? What do we mean by this? You're shouting at me and it hurts my feelings. I get really emotional. I see that that's my weakness, not your weakness. You shout all you want. I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to fix myself. So I know it's my weakness. If I become emotional, if I become really sensitive, if I start crying when someone shouts at me, if it brings a tear to my eye when someone starts shouting at me, I know that's my weakness. So again, what we need to see here is there's something that we want. We don't want the other guy to talk to me in that way. Right? I am someone who wants people to talk to me in soft words. I want him or her to talk to me nicely, politely, right? Because I want him to talk to me like that. When he doesn't talk to me like that, it makes me angry. It makes me sad. So where's the problem? Want. I want him to talk to me nicely. That's where the problem is. So when we reflect, when we contemplate on anicca, dukkha, anatta, we contemplate on nice words as being anicca. Our attachment to nice words, our attachment to polite words, our attachment to speaking softly or being spoken to softly, being spoken to politely, being spoken to in lovely words, that is the root of our suffering. Why? We like other people to talk to us politely. We want other people to talk to us nicely. We want other people to speak to us softly. This is the root of our suffering. If we can treat that problem, which is a problem with me, now it doesn't matter how the other guy talks to me. The best example I can give you. Remember the last time you went to the zoo? Last time you went to the zoo, right? And you watched the birds in the cages, the animals in the cages, right? Did you not even you bought a ticket, didn't you, to go to the zoo? Right? People actually buy tickets to go to the zoo. I'm going to show you how silly that is. Right? If you could really understand bird language, right? Go stand in front of the aviary, the birds in there, in the cages. If you could understand bird language, what do you think the birds are saying right now? What do you think they're doing? They're cursing you. You know what the birds are saying? These stupid people. I was living a lovely life in the jungle with the rest of my family, and these wretched people, you know what they did to me? They brought me into this zoo, they put me in this cage, and every idiot that keeps passing me by, they throw seeds at me, these breadcrumbs at me. I don't even eat this rubbish. I don't know why they keep thinking that I eat these bits of rubbish. And then sometimes they come and stand in front of me and put the flashes on their stupid things, the square things, right? And then one guy comes and says, "Shall I tweet him?" And I'm like, I'm the one who's supposed to tweet. I don't know why they're tweeting. This is what the bird's thinking. So really, these birds in the cages, they're not talking to you in nice words. They're not talking to you in lovely words. They're actually cursing you. But did you not take a ticket to go to the zoo to watch them? So you bought a ticket to go somewhere to hear people, or to hear another animal curse you. And you were okay with that, weren't you? So what changed? Did you go in there and tell the animals, "Shush, I've come into the zoo now, you had better be quiet"? No, you didn't do that. What's going on there is you don't understand bird language. You don't understand what the animals are saying. Therefore, it's okay for you, whatever they say. See, we just need to help ourselves. We need to treat our minds such that even when we deal with people, we can be like that. So then it doesn't matter whether man speaks or he barks. Right now, when a man talks to you, you're okay with it. When he starts barking, that makes you angry. That brings a tear to your eye. Makes you sensitive. Your knees start going weak. You start to tremble, fear, shock. Only because we allow them to do so. And that's because when you went to the zoo, you wanted the birds to chirp. Right? You wanted the lions to roar. You wanted the wolves to howl. But when you walk in front of a man or a woman, you want him to speak in lovely words, soft words, speak politely, speak nicely. That is the problem. What if you walked into the aviary in the zoo and all the birds are quiet? It's drop dead silence in the zoo. How's that going to make you feel? The birds aren't chirping. The lions aren't roaring. Everyone's just quiet. They've gone on strike. The animals have gone on strike. We're not going to say anything. They are observing a minute of silence. You wouldn't pick that day to go to the zoo, would you? Why? Because you want them to say things. It doesn't matter what they say. You just want them to say things. But when you walk in front of a man or a woman or someone, right? You want them to talk to you in lovely words, in soft words, politely, right? This is the problem. See, wanting is always the problem. So if at the workplace, at home, right? This is why I advise both groups. People who shout, I tell them, don't shout. People who get angry, I tell them, don't get angry at other people. That's a sign of weakness. Because among you, I know there will be people for whom anger is a problem. Because there are some people for whom desire is the greater problem. Aversion for others, delusion for others. Because there are different personalities like that. For there are some personalities for whom desire is the stronger evil. For others, aversion is the stronger evil. For others, delusion is the stronger evil. Now, if the Buddha were around, he would be able to look at you and instantly know what kind of personality you are. And according to that, he would deliver a sermon. But unfortunately, I can't do that because I don't have that power. But what I do know is among you, there will be the odd chance that there are people for whom aversion is the stronger personality that you possess. So in other words, you are someone who's prone to get angry, more angry than other people. There will be people among you like that. There will be people among you for whom greed, desire is the stronger force, the stronger evil force than anger. And then there will be others among you for whom delusion is the stronger personality trait. In other words, ego will surface among your feelings more so than desire and anger. Generally, you will have an idea about what kind of personality you are. Whether you are someone who is always desiring of things, right? Whether you're someone who feels greed a lot more of the time, whether you like sensual desires a lot of the time, or if you are someone who gets angry a lot of the time. Right? It's the kind of thing you might go and confess with your closest friend. Machang, I have this problem, I always get angry. I'm okay with everything else, but anger is my problem. It's that kind of thing that you would confess with a close friend, right? But you know what kind of character you are most of the time. Then there are others for whom delusion is the stronger personality trait. So for them, a lot of the time it's ego. Either inferiority complex or a superiority complex. It could be either. So a feeling of I am beneath others, I'm not as good as somebody else, or the feeling of I am better than everybody else. These are all defilements. So you need to identify which kind of personality you are and try and fix that problem. So for someone who is, when you get shouted at, or when you get scolded, when you get blamed, if you are usually someone who's unable to bear it, unable to tolerate that, right? You get really emotional very quickly. It may be that within you have a sense of inferiority complex, ego, because you feel that you're below or beneath others. You're less than others. So therefore, you're always looking for an opportunity to shine above the rest. But when presented with an opportunity, or when you're forced into this situation where you are being undermined, that affects you very strongly. I mean, there are some people, you can shout at them all day long and they're like, are you done or yet? Let me know when you're done and I'll move on. There are some people like that. You could shout at them all day and it's like falling on deaf ears. They'll understand every word you say, but it doesn't affect them. There are some people who are like that. And there are other people who the slightest word can completely destroy them. Like one criticism is enough to completely destroy them. They'll go into their rooms and start sobbing all day. Some of you may have children like that. Why one word? Like sometimes, a child comes at you, Ami, how is my drawing? Yeah, it's okay. I'm busy, come back later. That's it. They go into their room, they lock the door, and they'll sob until the cows come home. Why? Inferiority complex. They're looking for an opportunity to be praised. If you have children who are always, looking for attention, always coming up to you, Ami, how is this? Ami, how is that? Ami, do you like this? Do you like this? Do you like that? They're always looking for an opportunity to be praised. Praise them. It's good. It's okay. But at the same time, help them. Help them. Because if you don't help with such problems, folks, in future, it's possible that from them are born hypocrites. A hypocrite is someone who on the surface shows that they're good to others, but underlying there's a hidden agenda. A hidden agenda which can cause damage and havoc to an entire system. But on the surface, they look like the nice guy. There will be people like that in the workplace. On the surface, it's like they're happy and they're very jovial, they get along with everyone. But by the water cooler, that's where all the gossip, right? All of that takes place. They send the odd email, right? Copy the boss in all the time. Right? They're the people who, there's a word for it, stirring, you know what. I don't want to say it in the sermon. They are that word, stirrers. That's what they call them. Always stirring. The harsher word of crap. Right? Always stirring it. So on the surface they look like they're really nice people, but underneath they'll always be stirring problems, triggering problems, trying to cause a rift between two people. They become hypocrites. Why? Because they're always looking for opportunities to be praised, to be given opportunities to rise and shine. Especially if there are children, right, like that, then help them from a young age. Begin to help them. Show them that, it's not that you are less than anybody else. There is no such thing that, you are better or you are less. There is no such thing. You don't need to compare yourself. And, this is where I sometimes see, I see a massive problem sometimes with our education system. More than the education system, I think it's perhaps the culture that we've been brought up in. Recently, it didn't used to exist in our grandparents' days, but nowadays, the question is, are you first, second, or third in class? Your rank in class becomes very important these days. It's such a shame, because then you're always comparing yourself. This is ambrosia for those people with egos. Rank. So you're always comparing. Am I better than them or am I less than them? That destroys children's lives. A lot of other countries, they don't even have ranks. It's just whatever score you got in class, and then let's work on the score. It's not a case of what rank are you? Are you first, second, or third? There's not even a place to put the first, second, third rank in a report card in a lot of developed countries. But the more we move to developing countries, the more we see this problem of ego. Because everyone wants to be better than the other person. Right? So identify the kind of person you are. Whether you are someone who has a strong desire as a personality trait, who has strong aversion as a personality trait, or who has strong delusion as a personality trait. The answer to all of this is anicca, dukkha, anatta, yes. But be aware of what personality trait you are and then deal with it. Because it's these personality traits that are keeping you from attaining your salvation. And be always cognizant of how you feel about things. If you are someone who always gets angry, be mindful about that. I'm someone who is prone to get angry very easily. So, just like you, everyone else is the same. Even out there, everyone else, right? These people who you are harboring feelings of anger, ill will, resentment, right? People who you have not yet been able to forgive. There are also people who are either a raga or a desire personality trait, or a aversion personality trait, or a delusion personality trait. This is their personality. So therefore, whatever they had to do to relieve themselves of vexation. It's not that they wanted to harm you. It's not that they wanted to cause damage to you. It's simply that there was no other option for them. They were left with no other choice. So therefore, they took the path of least resistance. And the path of least resistance might have caused you harm. But if you are able to look at it from this angle, you will be able to be more sympathetic towards them. You will be able to sympathize with them. Constantly reminding yourself that, hey, I feel sorry for this guy. Look at him. He had to shout at me. Not he shouted at me. He had to shout at me. Why? Because that was the only option left for him to relieve himself of vexation. Poor bloke. That's how you're going to feel. If someone takes something that belongs to you without your permission, of course that's stealing. Instead of thinking, that wretched guy, he stole my watch, he stole that, he stole the other thing. Instead of thinking like that, you can think of it in this way. You can think, look at that guy. I feel so sorry for him. He was so vexed. The extent of his vexation was so much that he had no other choice than to steal what belongs to me or what didn't belong to him. He had to resort to stealing. He had to resort to stealing. Don't you feel sorry for someone who has to resort to stealing? Don't you feel sorry for someone who has to resort to stealing? They have no other choice. Don't you feel sorry for someone who has to resort to suicide? Do you not? You get news that someone's committed suicide. How do you feel about that guy? Do you not feel sorry for them? You think, poor guy. He had no choice. He took his own life. Had I met him, perhaps I might have tried to help him. But he or she would have considered all the available options. Right? We can assume that they would have considered all the available options, and the option that was least ugly was taking their life. Do you think they did it out of desire, because they wanted to? No one takes their life because they want to. People take their lives because that is the path of least resistance, because that is the least ugly path. Every other path appears to them to be more ugly than this path. So now, don't you feel sorry for them? Right. If you feel sorry for someone who's taken their life, you tell me, right? I am destitute. I'm creating this scenario for you. And then I'll ask you a question, you give me the answer. I'm destitute. I need to feed my family. Okay? So think about me. I have a family, I need to feed my family. I'm destitute now. I feel so helpless. As a father, I feel that I have become very irresponsible, and I feel that I have failed as a father. Okay? If I don't feed my family today, my youngest child is going to die tonight. If I don't feed my child today, would you rather that I, because of feeling so, because of me feeling that I'm a failed father, going and taking my life, or would you rather me steal something that belongs to you and feed my child? Which would you rather I do? Are you all in agreement? The two options are, I either go and take my life because I feel I have failed as a father, and I can't bear myself, I can't bear the pain that is growing in my heart, I go and take my life. Or the other alternative is, I take something that belongs to you. Maybe your watch, I steal it. Maybe your wallet, I steal your wallet. I take the money and go and feed my child. Which would you rather I do? Steal. Now you're okay with me stealing, right? See, this man has not been in good association to realize that there are other options. He has not been fortunate enough to be among people who would otherwise encourage him. Hey, mate, you don't have to go and take your life. You don't need to go and steal. Let's go and do some work. Let's go pluck some coconuts. If it's that bad, let's go and do some labor. And we'll earn some money. Worst of all, let's go and beg. I'll help you. Then we don't have to steal from anybody. Let's go house to house and let's take your child with you and show everyone, this is my poor child, this is my young child, he's going to die. Please, can you help me? There are other options. So there's been no one around to help this man. But most of the time, right, when you're in that kind of state, mental state, all these other options, they start to disappear. Because now you don't have a straight mind to think. You start losing your bearings. Now, I'm talking about a father who knows that his child's going to die today if he doesn't feed him. Just put yourself in that situation if you can. You got a child and the child's going to die tonight if you don't feed him. The child is so weak, so frail, shivering. The child's going to die tonight if you don't feed him. I'm saying if these are the only two options available to him, right? Let's say he's gone try to find work, but no one's giving him work. He's tried begging, no one's giving him any money. Or the few coins, rupees, notes, that he gets is not enough to feed the child. Let's say he needs to get the child some medicine. There's a drug that he has to give the child. If he doesn't do it by tonight, the child's going to die. And that drug is quite expensive. Let's say a few thousand rupees. And all the money that he's managed to collect is not enough. Now he's only got two options. Either let the child die, and if that happens, then he's going to go and commit suicide because he can't bear the pain. Or he steals something that belongs to you and gets the drug for the child. Are you all in agreement that you will allow, that you will consider that this man is stealing because that is the better of the two options than him taking his life? Of course. But they are both ugly paths. He doesn't steal because he likes to steal. He doesn't steal because he likes to steal. He doesn't like to take his life either. Of these two options, right now he has two options. But if you wait till tomorrow morning, he's only got one option. Right now he has two options. Right now he can either wait till tomorrow morning and see his dead child, or two, he can come and steal something that belongs to you and get the drug for the child. See, right now he has two options and he's going to pick the less ugly of the two options, which is stealing. But tomorrow morning, if the child's dead, now he feels that he has failed as a father. He feels so emotionally strongly about this that he feels, what's the point of me living? My child is dead. There's no point in me living anymore. He goes and takes his own life. You think these things don't happen? See, now, you're the person whose wallet or watch or something of value was stolen. Let's do a synopsis. Let's do a post-mortem of what happened. Now I'm trying to help you to try and forgive this man for having stolen. Okay? So your watch has been stolen. You realize in the morning, the police brings the guy to your home and says, "Madam, we found that this person broke into your home last night and he stole your watch. What do you want to do? You want to press charges or do you want to forgive?" Your immediate reaction might be, of course I want to press charges. But if you really took a moment to study what's happened in this man's life, right? Before the event I asked you, what would you do? And you said, yes, please, steal if you must. Because otherwise you're going to take a life. The child's going to die and you are also going to take your life. I'd rather you steal whatever belongs to me because it's not going to take my life. A life is more valuable than a stupid watch. Take my life if you must. Or take my watch if you must, but save your life and the life of your child. See, now, before the event, I asked you the question and you said, yeah, steal, take it if you have to. Because you are willing to accept that given these two options, that he should pick the path of least resistance. The less uglier path is the path that he should be picking. And you were okay with that, weren't you? So now put that into any of life's exam situations. See, you are now able to forgive this man because you accept that what he did was all he did was pick the less ugly of the two paths. That's all he did. He didn't want to steal what belonged to you. He didn't want to cause you any harm, not intentionally anyway. But deep down inside, he just had no other choice. Now when someone's vexing, I could take this as far as we want, folks. It could be something really, really bad. Say someone kidnaps a child. Okay, someone kidnaps a child. You can imagine the rest. Okay, someone kidnaps your child. An arahant would never have any grudge. But we do. We find it difficult to forgive this person. Why? Because he's kidnapped my child. But really, if you begin to understand the Dhamma, and if you begin to analyze the Dhamma, And if you really take this in, if you really internalize the Dhamma, you will begin to look at this man, what these circumstances have led him to do, in a very different angle to the way you look at it today. I'm not saying don't rescue your child. What I'm saying is, try and see, try, okay? Try. I know it's difficult, but try and see how this man had no other choice than kidnapping your child. Because for whatever reason, he was in so much vexation. He was in so much vexation. And now you know that when presented with two paths, all we do is pick the less uglier path. All we do is pick a less uglier path. So this man chose to kidnap your child. He chose to do it only because that was the less uglier path compared to something else. That's all that happened. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. But all I'm saying is, if you look at it from that angle, he was simply led to pick the less uglier path of the two paths that was presented to him. In fact, put you in the same scenario, in the same circumstances, with the same amount of raga, dvesha, moha, you would have done exactly the same thing. You would have done exactly the same thing. You would have kidnapped someone else's child in the circumstances whereby you were presented with two options. The mind will always go for the less uglier option. That's the way it is, unless you have perfected patience. Unless you have perfected patience, folks, because that is what patience is. If you want a definition for patience, what patience is not going for the less ugly path, or postponing taking the path of least resistance as much as possible. That's what patience is. Because for someone who has no patience, someone who has very little patience, he picks the path of least resistance just like that. No patience. Shouts back. Why? Because no patience, has not practiced any patience. So the less uglier path is shout back at the guy. So he does that straight away. But for practicing patience is simply postponing or increasing the threshold. Keep pushing that threshold. I can wait further, I can keep waiting, another day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, I can keep doing this. But it comes through practice. When you want to, for instance, if you watch a TV advert, I'll take something a little less dramatic, right? You watch a TV advert and they talk about this new flavored ice cream, never been introduced to the market before, right? New flavored, let's say pistachio ice cream. I know it's there, but let's imagine this is the first time they brought in pistachio ice cream, new to the market. Okay, and on the advert they say this is the best ice cream ever. You should try this ice cream. This is the best ice cream. They're delicious. Now you have been indoctrinated. The moment you have been indoctrinated that this ice cream is pleasurable, joyful, and essential, now the mind starts wanting it. The mind wants it now. And when the mind wants it, think about your children and how sometimes they see things on TV and then they come and say, yummy, yummy, can I have that please? Toys, dolls, food items, right? Whatever. Play centers. Can we go there? Can we go to Legoland? Can we go to that park, this park, that, the other park, right? How Disneyland, right? They saw it on TV. Now they want it, right? And then when they want it, when whoever, it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be a child or whoever, the moment you want something, you can be patient, but you can only be patient up until the threshold of your patience. You can keep working on it. That is by increasing the threshold. So if you could measure patience, if patience was a virtue that you could measure, let's say 10 units of patience today. When the Buddha says, Kanti paramang tapo titika, what he says is, increase the value of your patience, increase that threshold, keep pushing it, increase it to 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, keep increasing it. Keep increasing it. Don't go down the path of least resistance. Keep pushing it. Unless you want to do something meritorious, in which case, do it straight away. Because remember again, both meritorious deeds and demeritorious deeds, they're both the result of relief from vexation. They're both the result of relief from vexation. So an arahant does not do meritorious deeds. He'll do the deed, but it's not meritorious. So an arahant will offer the Buddha a glass of water. If you and I would do it, that would earn us a huge amount of merit. But for an arahant, it earns him 0 merit. The deed is meritorious, but no merit is earned. Why? Because merit is nothing other than relief from vexation, and in doing so, doing good to somebody or someone else. When you are doing good to somebody else, when you are doing good for someone else, and relieving yourself of vexation at the same time, that's when we say merit is earned. But when there's no vexation to be relieved from, the deed is good, but no merit is earned. That's the difference. So likewise, in the example I was talking to you there, when you see this thing on TV and now you start vexing for it, so you want it and now you start vexing for it, leave it enough time and that vexation will keep growing. It'll keep growing. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, right? And you see the advert again on TV and now again the child wants it. Otherwise, why would they play these adverts so many times? Because the more they keep showing you the advert, the more you want it. The more the vexation starts building inside, and it keeps growing. It keeps growing until you reach your threshold. Once you've reached your threshold, now you have to go and ask your parents, Ami, can I have it please? See, remember, when the child hits that threshold value, they are left with no other choice, no other option than to walk up to their parents and ask them for it. And if the vexation is so strong, and the parents have also said, Buddha, rather than going to Disneyland, let's say there's a toy, right? That your child sees an advert on TV, it's a toy, and he wants to buy it. He wants to have it. He keeps seeing the ad a few times. The vexation keeps growing. One day he goes and asks the father, Apachi, can I have money for that toy, please? Or can you buy it for me? No toys for you. You got to wait until your next birthday, which is in 6 months' time. So now he begins to think, okay, I have to just wait 6 months and then I'm going to get it. But in the meantime, vexation keeps growing, right? They keep showing the advert. If this child can't wait for 6 months because he hits the threshold within the 6 months' time, now he has to release himself from vexation. If you blow a balloon up until the point where it's about to burst, can the balloon not burst if it wants to? Does it have a choice about, oh, I'm going to burst, I'll not burst? Does the balloon have a choice about it? No, it has no choice about it. If you keep pumping water into a tank, does the tank have a choice about overflowing or not? No, the tank has no choice. Once it hits the threshold, it has to overflow. There's no choice. It has to explode. There's no choice. Likewise, the mind is the same, folks. When the mind hits that threshold value, now there's no choice about do I explode or do I not explode. It's time to explode and nothing can stop it. So when the child hits that threshold, within the 6 months, it's before the 6 months have hit, so it's not birthday time, therefore he knows that the father is not going to get it for me, but he knows that the father keeps some money in his shirt pocket, which is in the cupboard. So now what does the child do? He'll take it. Remember, he's not doing it because he wants to. He's doing it because he has to. Doesn't make it any better. It's still a bad thing to do. It's still a stealing. It's still demeritorious. But remember that he's been driven to do it out of necessity. Look at it from that angle and be sympathetic towards the child. Not take a stick and start hitting it. That's the wrong answer. Because you know what? If you hit the child, you have blocked that avenue also. So now, he can't wait till 6 months. He can't go and get the money from the father's pocket. That has also been blocked. So now he's left with, well, if I can't take it from my dad, I probably need to find another way of getting this money. Because you didn't fix the wanting problem. All you did was, you allowed the child to start vexing and then you started blocking all the avenues of escape. How's that going to help? Do you see how punishment is flawed? I'm glad we are coming to this point. Somehow it came here. This discussion, somehow it came here. Punishment is flawed. The principle of hitting someone, the principle of putting curfews, right? The principles, all these principles of punishment, they're flawed. They're very short-lived. Because what's going to happen, folks, is when the mind wants something, the vexation keeps building on the inside. And if you start plugging all the holes, it's going to explode. Like water, it's going to find a way out. Somehow it's going to find a way out. So you keep pumping water into the tank from one inlet, right? And let's say there are 5 outlets. You keep plugging all the 5. What's going to happen then? Leave enough time, the tank is going to explode. It's going to burst. So what the mind is going to do, parents with children, this is why hitting a child is not the answer. That form of punishment is not the answer. Punishment by taking away something that they want is not the answer, because what's going to happen is the mind is going to continue to vex. And when the vexation has built up so strong, so fiercely, it's going to find a way out. That's when they become so creative. They become creative then. And then they might go and start asking their friends at school, I need some money. If the friend's not able to give, then they see, the teacher, she always brings a handbag. She leaves it in the classroom when she goes to the toilet. Idea. Why? The mind is vexing. The child never wanted to do this, remember. The child never wanted to do this. But now all the other holes have been plugged up. There's only one exit left. So what the child's going to do, he's going to go up to the handbag, put his hand into it, take the money. Teacher comes in just at the right time, sees the child. Now what happens? Because previous day, he did the same thing, but only walked up to the cupboard or the wardrobe and put his hand into his father's shirt pocket to take the money. This time it's into his teacher's handbag. Which one's going to bring more serious consequences? Of course, it's the latter, right? So when he got caught at home taking money from his father's pocket, what the parents should have done is not hit the child. What they should have done is sit the child down and started asking them, Putra, what is it you want? Why do you want it? What is so great about it? You believe that this is pleasurable. You think that this is joyful. You think that this is essential. You think this is Nitya Sukha Atta. But no, you are wrong. It's just the advert. The advert is indoctrinating your mind to think that this world is pleasurable, joyful, and essential, when actually it's not. These things that you believe that bring you joy and happiness are really not sources of joy and happiness. Folks, really, explain to your children how wanting it has now made them a thief. Ask them, Putra, are you proud about the fact that you walked to your tati's wardrobe and put your hand into his shirt pocket? Are you proud about that? Are you proud about what you've done? No child is going to say, yes, Ami, I'm proud of that. They're all going to say, no, Ami, I'm really regretful about what I did. Then explain to them, see what that TV advert did to you. You are an innocent child. You would never have done something like that. You would never have done something like that had it not been for the advert. Now you watch that advert, and that advert now corrupted your mind so much. Look at what it's led you to do. Help the child, folks. This is how you help your children. This is how you can use this opportunity to teach your child the errors of their ways, not by giving them cane treatment. What's the point? Because if you use the cane, all you're doing is, no, that avenue is also blocked. Go find another one. This child's going to keep looking for avenues until it finds one. And after it has exerted all the avenues, if they're all blocked, next day, mental asylum. That's what happens. Next day, mental asylum. Why? The vexation built up is so strong, is so severe, that the mind can't bear this frustration, and the mind loses itself. goes mad, insane. So I'm using an example of a young child watching something on TV, wanting it, and then walking up and taking money from the wardrobe of his father's wardrobe. You can apply the same scenario into every situation in life. No one wanted to do bad things, folks. People don't want to kill. People don't want to steal. People don't want to backstab. People don't want to lie. That's why I said there are no such thing as bad people out there. People are not inherently bad. People are not inherently bad. It's circumstances which drive them to do bad things. And through the Dhamma, you can really analyze this now. Because once the vexation starts building up, if you start blocking all the avenues, then like a gun that has a bullet that has to go out only through the barrel, when it's been, is it cocked? What do you do with a gun? Cock it, right? Yeah. Once the trigger has been pulled, like a bullet stuck in the barrel of a gun, there's only one way out. Right? When the gunpowder burns, there's only one way out. So the bullet is gonna have to go that way. Not that the bullet has plenty of options, so which way do I go? No, the bullet only has one way to go, and that's this way. That's straightforward. Likewise, when your mind is vexed and it has hit the threshold value, I can no longer bear this vexation. It has to have a way to vent itself. It has to have a way to vent itself. Now, if you keep blocking all those avenues, then eventually the mind is going to lose itself. It's going to go insane. It's going to go mad. This is how people end up in mental asylums. Unless it's some kind of physical ailment, if it's through pressure, strain, stress, right? What are all these things? Strain, stress, pressure, these are all. Mind wants to release itself from vexation, but avenues are being blocked. Work pressure, work stress, how does that happen? I have no choice, I have to be at work, right? But at the same time, I can't bear the pressure that is being put on my shoulders. Right? Boss wants me to do this, the other boss wants me to do this, the other boss wants me to do this, customers are complaining, right? Report is late, right? Then I have to be at that meeting at this time, this meeting at that time, right? This guy walks into the office, he's stressed from the word go. Now he has no way of relieving himself. Why do some people... I used to work in banking, which is where people are usually always stressed. Thanks to the Dhamma, I remained sane rather. But in banking, especially in investment banking, which is where I used to work, a lot of people are always stressed. You know what they do when they get so stressed? They go womanizing. Monogamous relationships turn to polygamous relationships. Why? Relief from vexation. And a lot of these high pressure workplaces, more so than not, they'll have a counselor for mental stress counseling. Why? An avenue to relieve themselves of vexation. It's either that way or people go to the pub for a drink to relieve again themselves from vexation. Do you see how people incline to doing bad, wrong things when the vexation it starts to build and there's no vent for it? When there's no escape, you have to find a way to escape. It's simple physics. Simple physics. Brain physics, or rather mind physics. So when the mind is vexed, so intensely vexed, it has to find a way to relieve itself. This is why the Buddha says practice patience. What patience allows you to do is to keep pushing that threshold. Keep pushing it, keep pushing it, keep pushing it, and at the same time, work on desire. Work on wanting, work on the real problem, work on the source of the problem, while pushing your boundary of patience. Do them at the same time. That's what he meant by Kanti Paraman Tapotitikka. While you're working on your Nibbana, which is ridding the mind, extinguishing the mind of desire and wanting, keep pushing the boundary of patience. Because if you hit your boundary of patience, if you hit that threshold, remember it's easier to do bad things than it is to do good things. So naturally you will be inclined to do bad things. Or rather, that will be the path of least resistance. But no one is naturally bad. There are no such people who are naturally bad. People are not bad inherently. People don't want to do bad things, folks. No one really wants to hurt your feelings. People don't want to kill you, people don't want to hurt you, people don't want to take what belongs to you. But when they are left with no other choice, simply because they're so vexed, the pressure is so much that you have to let go, then usually the easiest path out is to do something bad. Now when someone does something that hurts you, takes something that belongs to you, lies to you, maybe cheats on you, okay? If you are someone with integrity, if you are someone who is strong in character, if you are someone who is wise above all things, you will be able to look at that person and go, poor soul. What a pity. I feel sorry for you, not I hate you. I feel sorry for you. Not in a resentful tone, I feel sorry for you. Not like that. You really mean it. I really, really feel sorry for you. Why? Because imagine, just think how much pressure that person must have been in to pick that path where what he did, what he said, resulted in pain to somebody else. When inherently he's not a bad person. Inherently no one's a bad person. None of you are bad people. None of you are bad people. So what happens when you become a Sotapanna? This is a good segue into that as well. What happens when one becomes a Sotapanna? When one becomes a Sotapanna, it's not that the threshold of patience has increased. Why? That is also to some extent, but that's not the main reason. When someone becomes a Sotapanna, much of the things that you desired, much of the things that you wanted are extinguished. So, for instance, if someone was prepared to kill their mother to get something that they wanted, the intensity of that desire has subdued to the extent where he or she no longer wants to kill a parent for the purpose of acquiring what they desire. They may kill someone else or something else, but never a parent. So what they have worked on is not the limit of patience. What they have worked on is the level of their desire. They have reduced the intensity of their desire through anicca dukkha anatta. Because this is what I ask parents to do with your children. Instead of punishing them, instead of hitting them, instead of locking them up in their room, go into your room and don't come out. Instead of doing that, sit them down and talk them through what happened. Show them what their desire has done to them. Show them what a low level they have stooped to because of the desire that was burning in their hearts. Show them that they are the victim of their own desires. Show them that. They're intelligent, they'll get it. If only you show it to them. Sit them down, Putta, look at what you had to do. Look at what you wanting that toy has done to you. You wanted that toy, right? Now look at what it's done to you. See what you did? Would you ever have gone and taken Tati's money? Would you ever have done that? No, but now you wanted that toy. Now look at what you've done. Do you see, you who has never stolen in your life, you have never stolen in your life ever before, look at what wanting that toy has done to you now. Are you proud about yourself? Are you proud of yourself? Ask your child. That's the best punishment you can give. The child is going to feel terrible about the fact that they've done it. And they're also going to see the real problem. Now, you see, if you punish them, they're going to think you are the problem. I want it, Ami doesn't let me take it. So who's the problem? Ami is the problem. But if you show them, Buddha, I'm not going to punish you, but I'm going to help you understand what's going on here. Look at the science behind it. Look at the logic behind it. You didn't want to steal Adate's money until you saw this ad. This ad indoctrinated into your mind that this, what it has to present to you, what it has to offer to you is something that is pleasurable, joyful, essential. Now that you want it, see what you've done? So am I your enemy? Or is that message that came from the TV, is that your enemy? Look at what it's done to you. Want is the problem. Because today, children suffer. They want something. No, I won't give it to you. So who do they see the problem is? The problem is with the mother, the father. Parents are the problem. How many children do you think live in our households, in our country, who resent their parents? If you ask them why, if you did a consensus, ask them why, they'll tell you, because Ami never gives me what I want. Tati never gives me what I want. Because what the parents have always been saying is, no, you can't have that. Either no or can't. You can't have it, you won't have it, I'm not going to give it to you, right? All the negatives. You never showed them the right problem. That's why they resent parents. Some children don't trust their parents. Why don't they trust their parents? Because when they go to school and they ask their friend, Machan, can I have some money? Yeah, sure. And if the friend doesn't have money, then I know how we can find some. Come at me. Right? What this friend will help him do is find a way to relieve himself of vexation. What parents do is block all those methods. They'll keep blocking all the avenues. And then when the friend shows him a way to find him, relieve himself from vexation, of course he's going to call him a friend. Without a question. And the parents who are supposed to be this child's best friends become their enemies. Why? Whenever I ask my mother, she says no. Whenever I ask my father, he says can't. So whenever I'm vexing, all these people come and do is they just put me in suffering. They never help me to relieve myself from suffering. But whenever I go and speak to my friends, they'll always help me to find a way to relieve myself from suffering. So of course they're going to trust them than they trust you. But if you're wise, you can help your children to identify where the real problem is. And the way to do that is not by punishing them. Certainly not using a stick. I don't believe that is the best way to punish children. Punish children, but not by using a stick. Punish children, not by shouting at them. Best punishment? Puta, come here. Sit down. Tell me what you did. You took my money from my wallet, didn't you? What do you call someone who takes money or takes something that doesn't belong to them? What do you call them? Thief. So what should I call you now? A thief. Are you proud of it? Shall I call you thief from today? Thief. Chuti thief. Shall I start calling you like that from today, Buddha? No, Ammi. Why? Because I'm not proud of it. Why did you do that? Because I wanted the money. Why did you want the money? Because I wanted to buy that toy I saw on TV. Why did you want to buy this toy you saw on TV? Because it's fun, Ami, because it's really nice, it's lovely, look at it. Ah, now we are getting somewhere. Explain lovely. Why do you think it's lovely? See, where are you going now? you're going to the source of the problem. Now you are going down the right path and showing them what it is that led them to becoming a thief. So really, you're not punishing them thieving. What you're punishing is the real problem of desire. You're punishing them for wanting. You're not punishing them for thieving. See, if you help your child this way, dear parents, next time he's going to realize, Ammi explained to me last time, what I'm seeing on TV, this is not fun, this is not pleasurable, this is not joyful. I don't want this. This is just crap. I don't want this. Because now you are treating the problem at its root. Whereas previously, when you hit them, all you did was you were blocking another avenue to relieve themselves of vexation. But like all things, like water that has to flow from high pressure to low pressure, it has to. It'll keep finding a way to get out. And remember, the vexation keeps building on the inside. Right? This guy goes to school tomorrow, he's going to see his friends who's got the toy. Now what's going to happen? He wants it more and more and more, and every day he wants it more. So the pressure keeps building on the inside, and what you're doing is blocking all the avenues from the outside. Eventually this is going to explode. And half the time, actually no, 9 times out of 10, it's easier to do a bad thing than it is to do a good thing. So he's going to have to do a bad thing to relieve himself of vexation. And if you block all avenues, then this child is going to go insane. And you have to be knowledgeable in the Dhamma to present this option to them. So this is why I want parents to be empowered with the teaching of the Buddha. Until you realize that first you have to realize this for yourself. Otherwise, how can you teach your children? You have to have right view, Samma Ditti. Isn't this Samma Ditti? Showing them that the problem is in section A and not section B. Showing them that wanting is the problem, not having what you want. So first, you need to understand that. Then sit them down and show them wanting is the problem, Putta. See, you desired it, you wanted it, you longed for it, you yearned it. That's where the problem was. And look what it's made of you. Today you only stole money from Tati's wallet. Tomorrow? What about when you're a grown-up man? When you're a teenager? When you're a young man who goes and works in an office? Then when you want something, where are you going to steal from them? Then one day you're going to break a bank. See, what you're doing today by teaching him the right lesson is stopping a bank robber from being born into this world. Because when that happens, it's too late. It's too late to fix. Because you can't go into the prison to give him Dhamma lessons. Right now he's at home. And the worst thing he's done is taking money from your pocket, from your wallet. Teach him where the right problem is, like the gentleman said. Show him all the options. Up until this point, we didn't realize that there was this option. The option of eradicating attachment, eradicating wanting, eradicating vexation. Up until this point, until we came across the Dhamma, folks, you and I will all agree that the only relief that we knew was relief from vexation. That's all we knew. Vex, relieve yourself. Try and do as much good deeds than doing bad deeds. That's all we knew. But now today we understand, today we realize that actually that's not the root of the problem. The root of the problem is vexation in the first place, is wanting in the first place. And we want things because we believe that they are pleasurable, joyful and essential. Nichchai sukhai attai, ashwadai sapai sarai. But today we realize that this idea, this concept of nichcha is simply fake. It's not real. It's simply an indoctrination that has been implanted in our mind by the asatpurushas that we have associated with. Ignoble, immoral people. Beauty is only a making of the mind. It's artificial. Beauty is artificial. Lovely is artificial. Gorgeous, that's all artificial. It's not real. Do you think you're beautiful? If you think so, you're insane. Because beauty is nothing other than something that is a fabrication of the mind. See, so to take another example, Buddha gets your son gets, or your daughter gets caught. You catch your daughter having a relationship with a guy, and it may be that they have gone on to do things that they shouldn't have, as young children. What do parents do conventionally? Stick. And then treatment. Oh, lock in the room. No, I'm not going to let you out for another week. I'll bring you food. Stay in the room. You're not going to come out for another week. They hit them, beat them. How many young girls get beaten up? How many young boys get beaten up for having relationships, being in relationships? Just parents, you've got to realize, you've got to understand that they're doing it not because they wanted to. They're doing it because they had to. They had to. How come had to? The vexation was so severe that there was only one path out of this. The guy sees the girl, your daughter saw this young guy in the class, in the tuition class or wherever, and she thought that he's good looking. No? The moment she thinks that he's good looking, and she doesn't have the courage to go and speak to Tati and say, Tati, this guy I saw in class, I think he's good looking. What must I do? Why? Because you've already blocked that avenue. At a very young age, you said, Buddha, if I ever catch you having an affair with another guy, right? You're going to see the devil in me. You're going to bring out the devil in me. So don't you ever let me catch you having an affair with a guy. Have you not done that with your children? Don't you ever let me catch you having an affair with a girl. I'm going to beat you up. Parents? See, what you've done is that you have blocked the avenue for the child to come up and talk to you when they started to vex. So, they had only one option. I'm vexing. I have no way to relieve my vexation by going and talking to my parents because I don't trust them. If they find out about this, then of course I'm going to get a good beating. So I must find every way to block them finding out. So what happens? Your browser goes incognito. Right? That's what happens then. Phone gets password locked. All the phone conversations, they happen after midnight. Why? Lest the parents will find out. Because if they do find out, beating. Isn't that the wrong lesson to be teaching your children? Because what they're saying is, if you're vexing, don't come to me with your vexation. I'll vex you even more. When someone's in vexation, folks, they just want to relieve themselves from vexation. What your children know now is, if I'm vexing, if I go to my parents, they're going to beat the hell out of me. So I'd better be in this said state of vexation than going and speak to my parents, because all they're going to do is put me from the pan to the fire. The pan's better than the fire. So I better not go and tell them. That's not what you should have said. Well, if you have been saying it thus far, I propose to you from today onwards, sit down with your children and speak sense into their heads. Talk to them, Buddha. Do it. If ever you find yourself in a relationship, come and talk to me. Because I am your best friend. Whatever it is, whoever he or she may be, just come and talk to me. I'm not going to beat you, Buddha. I'm not going to shout at you. Because I know today, having listened to the Buddha's Dhamma, I know today that when you're vexing deep down inside, your mind is simply looking for a path to relieve itself from vexation. I feel sorry for you. I will only feel sorry for you. I will only feel sympathetic about you. I'll only feel empathetic about you. I'll want to help you to find a solution to your problem. I'm not going to say break your relationship up. That's not what I'm going to be telling you. I'm going to show you sense. I'm going to help you make sense out of what's going on in your life. You'll want to get into a relationship and go and be with that person only because your mind is vexing. And to relieve yourself of vexation, you want the sight, the sound, the smell, the taste and the touch, which you believe are the things that make you happy and that they come from the outside world. You're insane. But let me help you, let me show you, let me help make sense for you. So if ever you find yourself in a relationship, don't go and tell your friends about it, come and talk to me first. You can trust me. I won't beat you, I won't shout you. I might have done in the past, but I'm not going to do it in future because I realized that I was wrong. I was wrong back then. But today I realize that I was wrong. So I'm going to help you. Come and talk to me. See, parents, if you can do that with your children, I think that is mature parenting. That is mature parenting. I speak to our Swami Nuhanses, our young Swami Nuhanses, if ever you feel the need to do something wrong, come and talk to me. Come and talk to me. I'm not going to shout at you. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to sit down with you. I'm going to talk to you and I'm going to help make you sense. I'll help you make sense of what's going on in your mind. And once I've explained to them, I'll ask them, so do you still want to do it? No. I don't want to do it anymore. Excellent. Was that my decision or your decision? It was their decision. Get your children to come and sit down with you. Talk to them. Putta, what is it to have an affair with someone? It's simply you scratch my back, I scratch yours. This is a contract. He's only going to go out with you for as long as you talk to him nicely. He's only going to go out with you for as long as you have your good looks. So really, it's not you that he's in love with. It's your good looks. It's your nose, your ears, your eyes, your lips. That's what he loves, not you. What happens if someone chucks acid at your face, on your face? You think the next day he will still want to go out with you? You get skin cancer. In a week's time, do you think he still want to go out with you? Well, if he loves you, then surely, no matter what happens to you, he should still want to go out with you. So really, he's not in love with you, Dua. He's just interested in what he can get from you. He's just come to the shop to buy some goods, and you're the good. Sounds mean? That's the truth. Explain these things to your children, folks. If you want your children to stop falling into wrong, bad, evil relationships which can ruin their lives, don't cover up the truth. Open the truth as much as you possibly can. Like the Buddha said, my Dhamma will prevail for as long as it is uncovered. For as long as the truth can be seen, my Dhamma will prevail. For as long as people try to cover it, it will not prevail for very long. It will not last for very long if you start to cover it. Open it up. Let people come and see the truth. Don't cover up the truth. You have been blessed with the Buddha's teaching, folks, so you can see the truth and you can help someone else see the truth. If all of a sudden you get throat cancer, right? Today he thinks you have a lovely voice. Tomorrow, when you open your mouth, you sound like a parrot. Now, do you think he'll want to go out with you? He won't want to go out with you. So really, is it you he's in love with or your voice he's in love with? Think about it. Tomorrow you get cancer. He's going to want to go out with you? No. I mean, why do people have marriage certificates? Think about it. Why do you think people came up with marriage certificates? It's to keep two people together, even after, when they have lost interest in each other. Otherwise, if people are really and genuinely in love with each other, why do people need marriage certificates? To prove that we are married? In our great-great-great-great-great-grandparents' time, do you think they had marriage certificates? No, because people were truthful. It's not that people were in any more love than they are today, but simply people were truthful. They kept their word. This is the truth. Sorry, it's the truth. Otherwise, how come people who are in relationships can break up? People go out with each other for several years and then they get married, and 2 weeks later, they want to get a divorce. Have I not explained to you how beauty only prevails for as long as the two of you can be apart? The moment you start spending time with each other, now you are relieved from vexation. The moment you are vexed, what happens then? You stop seeing the beauty in the person. Then you start seeing the beast. That's what happens. Because absence makes the heart grow fonder. So, is it not the worst thing to do to come and live together? No, seriously, if you think someone's beautiful, the last thing you should do is start living with that person. Living together with that person. If you love someone, the last thing you should do is start living together with that person. That's the last thing you ought to do. Live as far away as you possibly can from that person. The longer you do that, the more in love you will be for a longer time. Through the Dhamma you can explain this. I'm not just saying stuff. I mean, there's logical, scientific proof behind this. Because what is beauty after all? Relief from vexation. The more vexation that is built up, the more relief that you will experience when that pile of vexation is being washed away. Right? So if you allow more vexation to build up over time, then when the opportunity comes to relieve yourself of vexation, the more you will see beauty. But if you don't allow enough time for vexation to build up, then you will stop seeing beauty. So a guy gets married to a girl. He says, "You're the most beautiful thing that my eyes have ever my eyes have ever seen." They get married. 2 weeks later, he starts looking again. It's just the truth. So what I'm saying is, folks, right, just coming back to the point I was trying to make, is punish your children. There's nothing wrong with punishing them. Punish. But don't punish them the wrong way. Picking up a cane, picking up a stick, using harsh words, that is not the way I would punish if I had a child. My method of punishment is helping them see the truth. Ask them the question, "Dua, look at what has happened to you today. Today you have gone out with that guy, right? And you didn't tell me about it. You broke my trust. Are you proud about that? Are you proud about the fact that Ammi trusted you? I had no reason to distrust you. I put complete trust on you. Are you proud about the fact that you have broken my trust? How does that make you feel? How does it make you feel that today I have completely lost my trust in you? How does that make you feel? How does it make you feel that I can't trust you anymore? How does that make you feel?" Those words will destroy them. They'll be more painful than hitting them with a stick. If you genuinely say it as a parent, because ultimately children don't want to upset their parents. Children love their parents. They don't want to upset their parents. Nobody wants to do bad things. No one is inherently bad. But look at what desire has done to you. It made you lose my trust in you. Look at what desire did to you. Now they're going to feel terrible about what they did. If you hit them, they're going to feel terrible about you. If you explain to them the logic behind it, if you explain sense to them, they're going to feel terrible about what they did. Which one do you think they ought to be feeling terrible about? You or what they did? If you show them that what they did was wrong, and then you are helping correct them, they will understand more and more that you are their guardian angels. They will love you more and more for it. But if you start punishing them through using physical violence or verbal violence, then they will begin to hate you. They will begin to resent you. They will begin to think that you are the enemy, not the friend. That's when they'll go and start talking to their friends, looking for companionship, looking for someone they can trust. And guess what? There's no one out there that they can trust. But they don't know that. Because they're innocent. Right? So I was talking about forgiveness, and I'll wrap up with this. I want you all to be able to understand, folks, that whenever, if ever, someone has done something to you and it has left a bad taste in your mouth, right? If it has left a bad memory and you're unable to forgive them, sometimes just the memory of them is enough to give you a bad day, right? Understand that what they did was simply what they had to do. There were two paths, two avenues to take, and they simply took the avenue which was less ugly than the other. This is why I gave you the example. Father, child will die tomorrow morning. And you said you are fine with him coming and stealing your money. If the alternative was death, committing suicide, and you are fine with him stealing your money. We are talking about someone who has not seen the truth. Otherwise, the option of eradicating desire would, of course, be his number one path to salvation, which is what you are about now. But we are talking about someone who doesn't know this. We're talking about someone who's a prutakjana, who hasn't seen the truth, who hasn't seen the Dhamma. So then think that everyone who has done bad to you, bad things to you in your life, are people who are all wrong-viewed. They don't have an understanding of the Dhamma. All they saw was, I am vexing. I need a way to relieve myself of vexation. This was the only path that was left open to them. They were helpless. That's why they did what they did. Had they not done that, they would have gone insane. Had they not done that, they might have gone and committed suicide. But you're telling me that you'd rather them steal from you than them committing suicide. You're telling me that they'd rather come and shout at you than them committing suicide. You're telling me you'd rather they do whatever than them committing suicide. Well, you're all still alive, so now they haven't taken your life. They might have taken something that belonged to you, might have said something that hurt your feelings. That's the worst that might have happened. So understand then that they did what they had to do to remain sane. Otherwise they might have gone insane. Or they might have gone and committed suicide. Understand that what they did was simply what they had to do, not what they wanted to do. So feel sorry for them. Feel sorry for them and forgive. Then you don't have to forget. Forgive. And if you can understand it this way, and if you can forgive them, then this gift of giving will leave you in a much better place. It will help you have a peaceful sleep, at least. It will help you sleep peacefully. It will help you have a clearer head. It will take away a lot of the pressures and suffering and anxiety that you have. That will all go away. Learn to forgive, and this is the science of forgiving. Understanding that what they did was what they had to do, not what they wanted to do. Okay, so I'll conclude the sermon there, just conscious of time. Okay, so we'll transfer merits and bring the sermon to a close. First and foremost, and let us once again remind ourselves that it is because the Supreme Enlightened Buddha, the Perfect One, the Peerless One, the Unvanquished One, the Undefeated One, the Omniscient One, that we have the gift of Dhamma. Let us take a moment, therefore, to transfer merits to the Bhikkhu, Bhikkhunis, Upasaka, Upasikas, who since time immemorial protected and preserved the Dhamma and passed it down to us through the generations in the form of the Tripitaka. It is thanks to them that we have the Dhamma that which we can study, understand, comprehend, and help us unshackle ourselves from the suffering of samsara. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. Let us also transfer merits to all the members of the Mahasangha who are resident at this monastery, as well as all the members of the Mahasangha present worldwide, wherever they may be. These are all people who have gone forth and donned robes in the hope of liberating themselves from the shackles of samsara, as well as passing on the gift of Dhamma to all other sentient beings like you and I, so that we may also be able to help ourselves, to redeem ourselves from the suffering. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today, and may through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful planes, may they redeem themselves from the woeful planes and be born in the blissful planes, and may through the power of these merits, They abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also take a moment to transfer merits to the Devas, Brahmas, spirits, demons, and the dead that we invited at the start of this sermon, as well as anyone and everyone who might have been a relation of ours, ancestors of ours throughout this infinitely long journey in samsara, in whatever shape, form, or capacity they might have helped us, supported us, assisted us in this infinitely long journey to help better our lives, in whatever area that they were able to help us and support us in. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. Let's also take a moment to transfer merits to the members of the armed forces as well as the police force who fought a 30-year-old long war in Sri Lanka and dedicated and sacrificed their lives to protecting and preserving the peace and harmony of our country, as well as those men and women who have dedicated themselves to protecting our country, leading our country, developing our country. It is thanks to them that today you and I are able to live in peace and harmony as well as dedicate our lives to our deliverance. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today, as well as those men and women who might have lost their lives in the wars and battles that prevailed in our country. Be their friend or foe, may they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today, as well as anyone and everyone who might have lost their lives in natural disasters such as the tsunamis, earthquakes, hailstorms, and so on and so forth, not just in this country but also in other parts of the world. Reminding ourselves for a moment that they have all at one point or other in samsara been a mother to us. They have all at one point or another been a father to us. Therefore, having those compassionate thoughts in our heart and in our minds, let us transfer the merits that we have all acquired to them. May through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful planes, be able to redeem themselves and be born in the blissful planes. And may through the power of these merits, they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to everyone and anyone who might have helped make this event a success, either perhaps by spreading news about these sermons, inviting you to be here today, perhaps by offering you with transport, or perhaps by ushering you to a seat, or maybe simply by offering you a glass of water, or perhaps by offering you refreshments at the end of this sermon, or perhaps by transcribing these sermons such that they have been made available to the masses in other forms other than listen to these sermons, by reading them and contemplating on the Dhamma in various other means and forms. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today, as well as men and women who will have worked hard in developing the technology that we use today, in streaming these sermons online, making them audible to a vast audience present worldwide. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. Anyone and everyone who might have helped us, supported us, assisted us, either through financial means or perhaps by making right effort, or perhaps by passing on their blessings to us in the hope that this becomes a success. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today, and may through the power of these merits they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may through the merits that we have all acquired today, right from the start of the day all the way up until this point, by making offerings to the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, making your venerations towards them, in listening to the Dhamma, in preaching the Dhamma, in contemplating on the Anicca Dukkha Anatta, in realizing the truth, may through the merits that we have all acquired today, we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of Arahatun Mahanses in this blessed land, in our very lives itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may through the course of all the merits that we have all acquired today, and the merits acquired in transferring the merits that we have acquired today, you and I and everyone present here today who have joined, contributed, and connected with us from wherever they might be throughout this world, be able to become one of those Arahatun Mahanses, be able to become one of those Arahat Mehanin Mahanses in this life itself and in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. The members of the Mahasangha will now transfer their blessings to you. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of desire. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of aversion. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of delusion. May I and all beings in all worlds attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. May the Noble Triple Gem be with you all forever. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.